Reid and Patrick Mahomes and different players. We'll find out who they are. Mick Shaffer will be our guest coming up in the 1 o'clock hour. We got shot clock reviews. We are tabling Sad Fans to really put the finishing touches on it until tomorrow. Beard says it still has a little bit more work to do. So want to make sure that thing, when we open up the present, we want to make sure it's exactly what we were looking for, what we wanted. So we will all open up that present tomorrow. It's a gift from Santa and the gods. Sad Fans Broncos edition coming up tomorrow. Just want to give people a heads up. Typically, we have some texts early on like, hey, when is Sad Fans? Well, I'm letting you know it's tomorrow, and we can continue. Should we do like just a PSA underneath the entire show? Just like, Sad Fans tomorrow.
And it's really like a method acting thing for Beards because much like the Broncos, there's just still some work to be done.
Sad Fans tomorrow. So we'll do that tomorrow. Mick Shaffer will hang out with us in the 1 o'clock hour. We are pumped today because we are hanging out at a brand new, cool, hot, fast casual restaurant in Lenexa. It is Mod Pizza. Loretta Boulevard in Lenexa is our location today, right next to the Scissors and Scotch. That's what I'm looking at right now. So I'm going to get my haircut and have a drink.
You can't quite see, but just a little bit beyond that
is
a giant balloon that has the big Mod logo on it. Looks like a hot air balloon has landed. For the zone, really.
Yeah, so if you don't see the Scissors and Scotch and you don't see the giant balloon, there is an 04 Honda Accord parked out there. So if you look for that, that also is an indication. Also, there are 810 signs on the windows that this is now open. You can come and enjoy the experience of Mod Pizza, built around high-quality, personalized products delivered super fast. Every pizza or salad made on demand, completely unique. Price is always the same. Any toppings, one price. It's a cool experience. Custom artisan-style pizzas. It is here at Mod Pizza. We are here. It is open now. The newest location in Lenexa, 8742 Loretta Boulevard, Lenexa. 66219 is the location.
It's technically almost open now. We've got the VIP MOD treatment. Really, is what I'm calling it.
Hold on. What?
At noon today, it is going down. And by it, I mean Mod, and by going down, I mean opening
timber.
Up, actually. Right, yeah, so going down might be the wrong phrase. We are going to be here, feet on the ground, pizza in hand, for the grand opening at noon. Usually they open up at 11, but today, doors open at noon, grand opening. There's going to be a ribbon cutting out here. I don't think I've ever been to a ribbon cutting.
I've never done a ribbon cutting before.
I don't know if they're going to ask you to be involved necessarily. If there are big scissors, can we hold the big scissors at some point?
Do we have big scissors?
I'm getting some head nods. We're going to get to hold the big scissors.
Can we hold the big together?
Yes.
Like just while we're doing the show, because we're on video as well.
Yes, we each should hold one side of some big scissors. That I think would be good. That's a photo op I'm pretty sure you can get out of the day.
Tex wants to say, hey, when is Sad Fans?
Noon, actually. Grand opening at noon of Sad. That's grand opening.
You know what there aren't? They're not sad customers around here because Mod Pizza is going to be open at noon. When I say it's now,
there are big scissors.
These are.
Hey, new idea. Don't let Jason hold those. Just changed my mind all at once.
I've never held. These are actual scissors too.
I'm gonna go actually. So Jason will be here at Mod. I'm gonna go back to the studio. I'll be back there. Beards will be there in about 15 minutes.
The technical difficulties. Why were you guys off the air? Well, Jason would just smash scissors around, just closing, and he clipped right through a wire.
You can hear this, right?
Those are real.
I mean,
just hold this
you would. Wow, hold on. Let's open them. Look at that. I mean, that right there is special.
I've never seen scissors that big. We have different size scissors in the Anderson household for the 7-year-old, the 3-year-old, and then the 40-year-olds in the house. We all have different levels of cutting.
That's right. And you have the little ones.
I feel like this is for my mom. Yeah. They get bigger as you get older, so now my mom would have these scissors.
You could trim some hedges and open a Mod Pizza.
I do have some experience trimming some hedges, so also cutting the outside bushes.
I don't want to use those for any extracurricular like crafting or scrapbooking. I feel like that might not be great, but for grand opening a Mod Pizza, those look like the absolute tools for the job.
Texas Sad Fans tomorrow make sad listeners today, but happy listeners tomorrow.
See, it's all about your perspective.
Glass half full, glass half empty. Sad Fans tomorrow, sad fans today. Glass half full, whatever you want to look at it. Whether you think you can or you can't, you're right. Okay.
Wow, that's beautiful.
Life is your perspective on that. So, Sad Fans today. happy fans tomorrow because sad fans will be actually listened to.
And Broncos fans have been sad every single day this football season. So think about how other people have it right now.
That's right.
You got it pretty good.
That's right. All right. So, oh my goodness, this is a great callback. Oh my goodness, thank you, Texter. Thank you, Texter. The text says Mick will definitely be cutting pizza with the big scissors if he's here because if Mick Shaffer grew up with pizza cutting scissors, not a pizza cutter, but his family used scissors to cut the pizza. I had never heard of this, and then his father actually sent us in the mail scissors to cut pizza with to talk to Mick Shaffer about because there are scissors to cut pizza, and I found this out by talking with Mick Shaffer, so that's exactly right. Thank you, texters. Mick Shaffer, that's what the texters are so much better at doing the show than I am.
Yeah, no, me too. Because that was a cross show bit that made waves throughout the station when Mick brought in the pizza scissors.
Yes,
because we ended up having a conversation about that on AES and the night show one of those Fridays.
Yeah,
and also we had the revelation that my family also had and frequently used food scissors. But
we got shears
but those are like
cutting chicken into strips and
right,
stuff.
And we would use that on. I have used scissors to cut pizza, but never like orange handle, just sort of paper cutting scissors, which is how I imagine Mick doing it. My mom had scissors for the pizza. Again, the food shears. I think this that we just held and snipped into the microphone for a couple of minutes. You're cutting through the whole pizza in one go on that.
That's right, yeah.
Every time.
That's right. It's like the those that do make pizza a lot, that work in places like this.
Yes.
When you watch them sort of make it and they cut it, maybe not here, but just in general, when they cut it, it's always one swoop through with that pizza cutter. It takes me like 4 or 5 times through.
Not professional.
Yeah, I'm not just a one-trick pony. I can't just boom one time and it's cut.
I hear that if you get to a Mod Pizza on grand opening day, instead of throwing the dough up in the air to spin it, they'll actually throw your finished pizza up into the air and then take those big scissors while it's in the air and go snip, 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 and then it'll fall down perfectly sliced for you.
They are the Edward Scissorhands of pizza cutting, is what you're saying.
Edward Pizza Hands is what we have here at Mod.
Edward Scissor Pizza.
Edward Scissor Pizza.
Mod Pizza is our location. Grand opening today at noon, and a really cool spot. Also, if you come down, or over or up. I always say come down no matter where we're located. It's just come
on down.
Figure of speech.
It's a Price is Right thing. Maybe.
That's right, yeah.
Never come on up. You're the next contestant on the Price is Right.
Price is Right. Come on down. The Price is Right here for your pizza. But also, they are going to be giving away free pizza for a year.
Oh, what?
Signing up. Come down here. They'll do the drawing tomorrow morning. So noon, it opens today, Mod Pizza. And they will do the drawing tomorrow morning for free pizza for a year. You're going to get 52 free pizza coupons, and they will give that to a lucky customer that comes in today, doing that drawing tomorrow morning. Again, the new location for Mod Pizza in Lenexa, a really cool spot. You can enjoy your very own custom artisan-style pizzas and salads, any toppings, one price. Price always stays the same, completely unique pizzas. It is a really cool concept. 913-912-4810 is the text line. 913-912-4810, the text line to join us to be a part of the show. I said Cynthia Frelund coming up at 11 o'clock, NFL Network analytics expert. We'll talk with her about the Chiefs, some NFL stuff outside of Kansas City. We'll hear from the Chiefs today. Andy Reid, Patrick Mahomes, whichever players show up at the podium today as well. And then Mick Shaffer will be hanging out with us today. We do have some shot clock reviews. Oh, I've got a shot clock review today.
Oh, really?
Yeah. I mean, people may or may not care. I don't know. That's the point about shot clock reviews.
It's only 24 seconds.
You might talk to one specific target demographic.
That's right.
That's really it. I'm not sure. But we'll find out today during shot clock reviews. So 913-912-4810. Let's talk some Royals baseball. Let's start with that. We will get into plenty of Chiefs today because, again, at 11 o'clock it'll be Cynthia Frelund. At 11:45 will be the Chiefs press conferences and then reaction to what we're hearing from the Chiefs. So let's start off with some Royals conversation here. The open forum last night, the town hall that they had, where they had the Q&A, but really just the submitting questions beforehand. So, I mean, it wasn't as if somebody showed up with a or lined up with a microphone and had no idea what the questions were going to be. So they were able to filter some things out and go through and find some questions that maybe they want to ask or answer, and they can screen some of those things. Interesting that the first question was, why should the city invest in a new ballpark when there doesn't seem to be an investment in the actual ball club? They came right out of the gate. So Ryan Lefevre, who was moderating and having the questions and asking those to the particulars that were up there on stage, John Sherman and others that are part of the ownership group and those that will be in charge of building the stadium, the ballpark, and the district. So right out of the gates, it wasn't a slow burn. It was, why should the city give you any money for a ballpark when you're not investing in the ball club? So I don't, and maybe that was strategic by Ryan Lefevre to say, no. These are the bigger questions. We've heard this question the most. This is the question we are going to start off with. And even John Sherman joked about it. So I don't know that John Sherman knew that was the question, because he even joked about oh, hey, all right, so here we go. We're starting right out of the gate. So last night was more information. It is a start of what they said in the open letter, that there's going to be open dialogue. There's going to be conversation. They're going to hear feedback from the residents, fans, those that live in and around downtown, those that want to keep Kauffman Stadium. They're going to be transparent. And, saying that is nice because it is just words on a piece of paper. Just words that you're reading from somebody that, thought it, wrote it, whatever, typed it. But actually following through on that is the more difficult thing of being truly transparent and taking feedback. Because you can stand in front of an audience and answer questions, but then in a private room have completely different ideas of how you're going to move forward and say, well, it was not, yeah, they voiced their concern, and that's fine. Cool. But we're doing this over here, and great. And we're going to do it our way. So we'll see the transparency as it continues to go along. It's early in the process, okay? So they gave information last night. There's still a lot of information to figure out. We found out last night that the $2 billion price tag, it'll be $1 billion for the new ballpark, and it'll be $1 billion for the district, the ballpark district. Now, the district, we were told last night, will be entirely private capital. Investments, investment group, private capital for the $1 billion district. The $1 billion new stadium, a, quote, major part, in quote, unquote, will be private capital. Major part can mean a lot. Because if you're talking about $1 billion, a major part could be $600 million. If you're talking about just in general, a major part could be $100 million. We're giving $100 million. That's a major investment. But that's a pretty penny of a check to write. $100 million. So the transparency of, and we'll find out. I mean, the earliest it can be on the ballot is August of 2023. So clearly there will be a lot more in the details, which the devil lies in the details of all of these different things. In 2006, when the 3/8 cent tax went through, it was a $250 million renovation. The taxpayers were paying $225. So are they paying $250? And a major part of the private capital is going to be $750 of the billion, and whatever the overrun cost might be, is it $500? We'll find out. That's part of the transparency. But at least from this point moving forward, from what they have already said on record, when they released the open letter from John Sherman to fans about the $2 billion of what it may cost, we know that $1 billion goes to the district, and that will not come from public financing. $1 billion for the stadium, a major part of private capital. Involved in that was the question about why not just stay at Kauffman Stadium and renovate. And their assessment, and they probably can, I think more details certainly would be good. They gave a number of points on renovating would cost as much or more than building new. They talked about the structure of Kauffman Stadium. The lower bowl would have to be reconstructed. The upper tarp would have to be reconstructed, like the lower bowl concrete would have to be completely redone. They said the, quote, cancer in the concrete is happening. There's leaking in the fountains.
It was the first time I'd ever seen or heard the phrase concrete cancer.
Yeah,
that was
concrete
a new one
cancer.
for me.
And so that's going on, and I believe that because I was told over a year ago, maybe it was a year and a half, I think it was right around when John Sherman was buying the club, that there are issues that aren't public with Kauffman Stadium. Now, maybe that's part of a PR campaign to put the information out because, hey, let's tell a radio show host who we know already wants to, have a ballpark downtown. And then, but I do believe that there are issues that go on in the bowels of the arena or the bowels of the ballpark. The clubhouse amenities, you may or may not care about that, but I'll tell you who cares about that, potential free agents. They'll care about a ballpark amenity. They'll care about what the clubhouse looks like. They'll care about if there's flooding in the clubhouse. They'll care about if, when it rains, do the toilets work. They'll care about those things. I'm not saying that does or doesn't happen. I'm just saying they would care about those things. Like, wow, I signed here. I didn't know that that when it rained, there was flooding here, and there's a bathroom in the clubhouse we can't use. No idea. And now we're going to a specific other part of it. Those things matter. And recruiting is part of free agency. It's not just simply paying somebody the most money, which is nice, but also does that person even want to play for, one, your organization, and two, play in a certain city or ballpark or things like that. So if there's more details specifically on, okay, this is the cost of what it would be in today's materials that are needed to rebuild the entire lower bowl. Here's what it would cost for the tarp. Here's what it costs to fix all of the leaking problems, the rusted pipes that are there, everything. Here's a detailed layout of line-by-line itemized issue. Yeah, then it could be, okay, this was going to be, if you want to renovate and keep Kauffman for another 50 years, here's $1 billion. Or do you want to build new? Here's $1 billion.
I pulled up Blair Kirchhoff's Twitter timeline from last night, so I was trying to remember if there was a specific word he used, and there was saying John Sherman, private capital would take care of, quote, bulk of ballpark and then all of the ballpark district. So if that is, I think the version of the word bulk that I imagine is the majority of, perhaps, and if that's the case, then we could at least use that as like a watermark for our expectations.
Well, they said bulk of the whole thing, so if it's $1 billion already for the district and quote a major part for the bulk would be a lot.
That's where Blair said his first thing was the bulk of the capital would come from investors and ownership group for both, which obviously $1 billion and a nickel, and now you've gotten the bulk, I suppose.
That's a good point.
But then his next tweet is John Sherman saying, and this is how Blair tweeted it: private capital would take care of, quote, bulk of ballpark and all of ballpark district. So keeping that in mind is a huge part of it. In a vacuum, I'm more interested in a downtown stadium than I am at a Truman Sports Complex renovation, right? I do think there are a lot of other good questions to be asked, both financially and also in the development of all of this, but I'm a broken record. I've got one note to play on the downtown baseball experience. It's a story I've probably told 50 times now, of walking from a theater to get dinner in Chicago, and then all of a sudden we stumble upon Wrigley. And it was and there's a Billy Joel concert that night, no game or anything, but there are people standing outside, and I had never been to Wrigley before. And just that experience of like accidentally finding a cathedral of baseball inside the guts of the city. Like it obviously has stuck with me. That was 5 or 6 years ago, and I think about that experience all the time. I also think that the word bulk is a minimum threshold that owners should be meeting, which is not to say that the Royals aren't on track for that. I actually think the posture of the organization to this point has been pretty good throughout this process. The idea that the hopefully vast majority of those $2 billion, let's say it's 1.5 at least, of that coming from the private investors who will benefit from it the most. That's the key part to me. That is a bare minimum, but if that can be done, if they will take the vast majority of this financial cost from the people who will be reaping the vast majority of the financial gain from it all, then I think this would be a wonderful thing that I would be excited about for the city. Other issues with like developing downtown more sustainable housing for downtown Kansas City, legitimate problems that
affordable housing
is a tremendous issue. But if you can try to boil down to whatever the finances are going to be around the district and in this ballpark, the place where I roll my eyes in sports in general, again, this isn't really Royal specific, But the owners and their publicly funded stadiums, the owners are still the ones that get the tax write-off from that. They are owning a sports team is one of the best businesses in America because everything, even your players and your contracts, are technically depreciating. So you get the right tax, but there have been some fascinating stories on this done over the last 5 or 6 years especially. But the benefits of that will most be reflected on the private ownership groups. I bristle heavily at making your people pay for that, even as there could be benefits to the city. We don't need to publicly fund every little developmental nickel downtown, and they have the money in this group. And if they will develop it out, I'm thrilled to see what it looks like. I think that the majority of at least what they wanted to be asked about last night, what they wanted to tell us last night, I was pretty happy with. I'm hopeful that this ends up not being a financial burden on Jackson County citizens, especially as Arrowhead's going to be renovated already for the World Cup and then is going to have its own stadium conversation not too far behind.
Well, I would say, and I know that's probably, and we'll take a break here, and then there's a lot more to get into on this subject, but I would say that while there may be people that would bristle at the thought of the investors, the owners, while they are investing their money, they are the ones that will benefit financially from this. While that is true, it is also welcome to America that those that are investing, that even if it's something that can help the community while investing in it, would still be the ones that are reaping benefit when money starts flowing in, even if it is for the community. And this is a pretty decent part of the fabric and the history of Kansas City is the Royals, and there are plenty of other businesses in town that are given tax write-offs, that are given things from the city to attract them to the city, or to maintain or keep or stay in Kansas City. That happens all the time in every city. We focus on sports a lot. It's public. The public financing for ballparks is very public, and there's a lot of things when people go and vote. Some are incredibly informed. Some are just simply, yeah, that's fine. That sounds good to me. Okay, cool. That sounds like a plan. All right, great. Move forward. And people probably don't have an idea of every single part of a cent that goes to different places around the city and what might be to businesses to help keep them or attract them to the city as well. I do want to get into some of the finances because one of the things that I've heard, and I think it's a reason why it was the first question, is why should people invest in a ballpark when it doesn't feel like the club is investing in the ball team? Those players on the field. Well, they did. They spent $3 million yesterday. They got Ryan Yarborough. So what more do you want? Come on.
Didn't make me pay for Ryan Yarborough.
I'm not paying my 3/8 cent tax and going to Ryan Yarborough. Come on.
I'd give about 3/8 of a cent for Ryan Yarborough.
That's probably
I'd
what
be willing to put that part of the bill.
Yes. We'll see. 913-912-4810 is the text line. 913-912-4810. The text line, we'll get into some of those. We'll take a timeout. We are hanging out at Mod Pizza today. It opens up at noon, the brand new location in Lenexa. The Mod experience built around high-quality, personalized products delivered super fast, and every pizza or salad made on demand, completely unique. And the cool part is the price always stay the same. Any toppings, one price. I want more toppings. Cool. We're going to charge you $1.50 for each individual. Oh, you want black olives on that? Cool. Here's $1.50. You'd like some mushrooms? Oh, you'd pay $3 for black olives and mushrooms. Cool. Why don't I just go right over to the store and chop them up myself and put it on there? It'd save a lot of money. I mean, good night. Always the same price. Any toppings, one price. And they are going to be given away to one lucky customer. You can enter to win free pizza for a year. They are going to do that drawing tomorrow, so you got to come down, over, up, near to this location in Lenexa, 8742 Lorette Boulevard in Lenexa. There is a huge balloon outside, and you can't really miss that. It is the grand opening today at noon today. It is Mod Pizza in Lenexa. We take a timeout. We come back. More Zone next.
Want to see more of The Zone? Watch the show live on the Sports Radio 810 WHB Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, and Twitch. The Zone with Jason Anderson.
What do you think of Greinke with the Chiefs? You like the deal, you like the signing, and what he can bring?
I can't get football out of his mind.
I think personally,
what did I say?
I think that Greinke should pitch for the Royals,
even
though the Chiefs have a hole in their secondary. I think we should let him stay there.
Weekdays from 10 to 2 on Sports Radio 810 WHB.
I will talk with Cynthia Frelund coming up at 11 o'clock. NFL Network analytics expert. Talk to her about the Chiefs moving forward. Final 4 weeks of the season somehow. We've got every year we're like, how did it go by so fast? How have they really played 13 games already? We are hanging out at Mod Pizza in Lenexa. Grand opening today, coming up an hour and a half from now, a little less than an hour and a half. At noon, the doors open for the first time, and you can come in and try the new cool spot. A great experience at Mod Pizza. Personalized products delivered super fast. Every pizza or salad made on demand. Completely unique. The price always stays the same. Any toppings, one price. It is 8742 Lorette Boulevard in Lenexa. You'll see the big balloon outside that says grand opening. You'll see the 810 banners on the windows. This text comes in, 913-912-4810, says, Mod is so effing good. Get the Tristan and add white sauce. You'll never look back. Okay. So I need to talk to Tristan.
Yeah, find Tristan.
And he will make the pizza for me. Is Tristan at every single location?
So there's a Tristan at every single location.
Okay, so is that required? It's like we must hire a Tristan.
It's actually why they can't open till noon today, because he's not here yet.
Okay.
So at about 11:45, Tristan, but it's like an elf on the shelf kind of thing. You've got to find the Tristan. Sometimes he's up in the rafters. He's a really tricky fella.
Yeah. It's always trying to figure out where the elf is going to be every day is
he's like a pizza elf.
Always an interesting conversation with my wife and I. Just
because
guessing.
You're looking for where it might show
Where could
up.
this elf possibly be tomorrow? Mm-hmm. I don't know. What's going to be happening tomorrow? I don't know.
This isn't my first time at a Mod Pizza, by the way.
Look at you, veteran.
It is my first time, though, having the no-name cake, and in this case, a chocolate peppermint no-name cake.
You just not know the name of it?
It's what it's called, I guess.
Oh, okay.
I tore it open during the break, and it is so good. It's if it was no longer Mod Pizza and it was just Mod individually wrapped chocolate peppermint cakes, I still would never want to leave.
Mod no name cake.
If it was just no name cake store, I'd be like, okay, it's sort of weird branding choices, but it's delicious.
What's that thing? It's a no name cake store. Where's it at? It says, I can't remember what it's called. It's the no name cake. I was going to open up a place called I Don't Care. What do you want to eat tonight? I don't care. All right, let's go.
Boom.
Get in the car, kids. Pack up. Let's go. We're going.
What kind of cake do you want? It doesn't matter. Hell, it doesn't matter cake, actually.
Doesn't even need a name.
Hey, I got some breaking news. I don't need Beards' swoop unless he wants to get in quick. But from the college basketball world real quick, I just think this will make you laugh. From Jeff Goodman, breaking, Sean Miller has received no sanctions in the IARP ruling, source told Stadium.
Good for him. Good for Sean.
Thank God the NCAA's here, man. I mean, imagine what he could have been doing if he hadn't been cleared on all charges.
Just what he could have been doing. It's like, really? I got nothing? Why didn't I do more?
Seriously.
I still got that. I was kicked out of, fired in Arizona. Why didn't I do more?
If
maybe would have won a championship or went to the Final Four.
I'm gonna try to get into the kitchen here and just see if they'll just hose me down in one of the sinks so I can just have a fully soaked through shirt in honor of the only real thing I can think of other than corruption with Sean Miller.
Yeah.
Next word association is transparent button-up shirt.
Yes.
That is a sweaty gentleman.
Sean Miller, Buzz. Sometimes he goes and changes shirts at halftime. That's always fun to see the wardrobe that he wears.
He was apparently sweating for no reason. Think about it.
It's no sweat. He's good. 913-912-4810. This text comes in, and I do appreciate this text because I think it is worth pointing out. And it's exactly where I wanted to go in the conversation with the development and with the district that is going to be a part of the new ballpark downtown. And this text says, it's real simple. The Royals were 3 worse than the Rangers last year. John Sherman told us Dayton Moore was the problem. Now Dayton's with the Rangers. So come August 2023, if the Royals aren't as good or better than the Rangers, it's a no vote for me. If they are, it's a yes, even if it's the whole billion. Well, I will tell you the odds of them being better than the Rangers this year are very slim.
Yeah.
And I think the point the texter is making is look at the money the Rangers are spending, and John Sherman is not. So John Sherman is cheap and saying that, well, from where they finished, then it's going to take a little bit to start to spend money and investing in the younger, when the Rangers, where they were in the standings, are then going out and paying for Jacob deGrom and giving him $200 million to go along with Seager and to go along with Marcus Semien and Perez and Gray and Odorizzi and the different players that they have signed over the last couple of years and in this offseason. That's kind of the point of voting yes on it in general, is to be closer to the Rangers than what the Royals are right now. See, to use the Rangers as an example, you would also have to use the Rangers as an example of building a district. Because Stan Weber talked about being at the Big 12 championship game and said, you know, he went out to go get something to eat. He was, you know, there at Jerry World getting ready for the game, and he's like, well, you know, going and grabbing something to eat, and walked down. He's like, I went out to whatever it's called, like Rangers Park or Global Life. It's Texas Live is what it's called. At Global Life Texas Live, and he's like, I walked outside, and you have the Texas Live that's there. He didn't even mention that it was connected, and it was the Rangers Texas Live, right? It was like I just went out there, and there's, you know, restaurants and everything there, and there's a bunch of people walking around and enjoying themselves, and the Big 12, and, you know, K-State fans everywhere, some TCU fans, and just there at Texas Live. And the first thing I thought of is Stan Weber and those K-State fans are giving money to the Rangers.
Yeah.
Because the district is owned by the Rangers, and they make money off of that as a new stream of payroll, as a new stream of revenue, that then you can give to the ballpark or give to the ball team. And John Sherman, go ahead.
Does that revenue doesn't get into the Major League Baseball pool there
it's not
either,
shared
right?
at all.
So, okay, just wanted to make sure on that.
It is not shared. Every single penny that they have, that they get back from that, is theirs. Now, can it go to more investment? Sure. John Sherman last night said the money they make from the district will be spent on the Royals team. Now, that is holding him responsible, because he even said, you need to hold us responsible. When you look at the Rangers, that Texas Live, Globe Life, that in 2019, they had two players on their roster that were making more than $10 million a year.
In 2019.
In 2019. In 2023, that will be 6 players. Look at the Braves. In 2021, the Braves brought in $42 million in revenue from, quote, the Battery. Texas Texas Live is owned by Cordish, and the same company owns Kansas City Live. The Rangers do not get profits from that. They get a tiny piece. No, part of that is why they built Globe Life, is so that they can have that aspect, that they get money from that. It is a partnership, just as in the Battery in Atlanta is a partnership with, I believe, the Omni is a huge hotel that overlooks Truist Park. Now, you would think, why would they put a hotel there that somebody can get a room and watch Braves games? Because they're part owners of that hotel.
Yeah.
And the Braves payroll in 2019 was $119 million. 2023, it's $192. They have also drafted, traded, and they've spent money on their young players.
Yeah.
The Mets have gone out, and they have spent money. In the next 2 years, Max Scherzer and Justin Verlander will make a combined $173 million in the next 2 years.
It seems impossible.
For the Braves, Matt Olson, Ronald Acuna Jr., Raisel Iglesias, Austin Riley, Ozzie Albies, Michael Harris, Spencer Strider over the next 2 years will make $171 million combined.
And a whole bunch of those guys, they extended early.
Right.
Which to me, I mentioned because they're not planning on throttling that back anytime soon, right?
But they've also built the battery with their new ballpark, in which it is an investment that they made a promise to invest back in the ball club, back in payroll, and they've done that with their young players early on, saying, hey, Michael Harris, we're going to give you millions and millions and millions of dollars. Okay? Hey, Austin Riley, we're going to give you a bunch of – the only free agent was Matt Olson. Acuna Jr. was an international free agent. Iglesias was by a trade. Austin Riley draft. Michael Harris draft. Spencer Strider draft. Ozzie Albies international free agent. Max Fried they got in the Upton trade. Kyle Wright was the number 5 pick in the draft by the Braves. They've drafted well. They've developed, which is what the Royals need to do. But when we talk about keeping younger players, this is part of it. If they stay at Kauffman Stadium, there's not an extra stream of revenue that comes into where you're talking about $42 million in 2021 to the Battery. Now, you could say, well, they won the World Series. Yes, they did. And the Royals won the World Series, too. So why didn't they just keep increasing payroll if it's just about winning the World Series? It's also about keeping younger players. And if John Sherman and the ownership group are true to their word, that the money they make off the ballpark district will then be put back into the Royals team, that's how you go and get DeGrom and Seager and Simeon and even Odorizzi at $12.5 million. That's how you go and get those guys and not Yarborough for $3. It's how you sign Bobby Witt Jr. to a $250 or $300 million contract. It's how you sign Melendez and Vinny Pasquantino and Massey and, Singer and whoever else down the road that you say we can keep these guys because we've got extra stream of revenue coming in. It's not just we're getting revenue sharing from the Yankees. Yeah. We get some of their, TV contract deal, their local TV contract. Cool, we get some revenue there, and we get the gates, and we get concessions and parking and all that stuff. Yeah, that's fine. You'll still get those things. But they don't have that added stream of revenue. It may work, it may not work. But right now, if they keep doing the things they've been doing, you're going to keep seeing the things that we've been seeing. And the Royals are not in a position to go out and spend $250 million on a payroll no matter who the owner is. It's absurd to think that they should do that, to think that they would be able to do that.
I think that's a very compelling argument. The only hang-up, I think, is having faith that you've got the right people that are running all of that, and that's something that John Sherman and his ownership group can't prove yet, would have to prove over time. But so far, I feel like the Royals and Sherman have said and done the right things. This ownership group has locals in it. I don't think this really matters that much. But if Patrick Mahomes in 5 or 6 years is getting questions about why the baseball team is just sitting on a big pile of cash instead of reinvesting it into the program, I do think that kind of thing matters. And I do think what we've seen from John Sherman so far is that would be a path that they are explicitly looking to follow, which is incredibly encouraging and I find to be a pretty compelling argument for that whole district really turning into good baseball.
And we'll see if that's the case. But I think when you've got a couple of teams, organizations that built stadiums and then connected them to districts next to what the Buffalo Bills are doing. The Bills are doing the same thing. In their brand new, beautiful stadium that they're building there in Buffalo, they're building a district next to. What was the view of the Bucks when they were winning the NBA championship, and it was like, what, they have like 500,000 or a million people out there.
I don't want to talk about the Deer District,
Sorry,
Jason.
But the Deer District.
That was a sensitive time in my life.
Right, but you saw that.
Sure did.
That was the Deer District. What do you think that does?
Also,
who's a part of that?
Also, how does Kansas City do when we just have a big screen to go watch outside? You know what I mean? Like, Power and Light is a destination for every national and international soccer event in the world, it seems like. Kansas City turns out for that. Having that be attached to the ballpark in this way, I think, would be really cool.
This text, and we'll go to break. Same texter. It doesn't work like this. Said, sounds like a lot of excuses. Royals and Rangers were separated by 3 games last year. If Dayton was the problem, he took those problems to Texas. I mean, you really think that's how it works?
I don't think the Dayton thing really matters. That doesn't move the needle for me.
Also, is he officially with Texas right now? I mean, because if that's the issue, then Mike Matheny should have taken the Royals to the postseason because he did that in St. Louis.
Right. I think the Texas thing is more interesting from a construction standpoint in a literal sense than a roster construction standpoint. The Royals are going to take some time. It's going to be
right.
And also the argument we're making here is that you'll see the growth after it's built, which is, again, an exercise in some faith that this organization has not earned just yet. They certainly could, though.
That's where I come down on the side of building new downtown.
Yes.
Because of the things that I would like to happen anyway with the ballpark, but with the added stream of revenue, and the more likely doesn't mean it happens, but at least the greater than 0% chance that there's an added stream of revenue that then would allow them, or at least give them the option of investing in the payroll. And if they don't, then you will hear me on the air a lot talking about where is the money going to the payroll that you promised, that you said was going to happen. Hold up your end of the bargain. Believe me, this won't be a spoon feed, whatever you want me to say. I am excited about the prospect of being able to go and keep the young players and then supplement with more money down the road. I don't think they can do that right now. We'll take a timeout. We'll come back. More Zone next.
Follow the show on Twitter at J810Anderson, at JB Brisco, at Beards McFly, and at Sports Radio 810. The Zone with Jason Anderson.
Texas, my texts are read so often, I'm thinking of signing them as show contributor.
Weekdays from 10 to 2 on Sports Radio 810 WHB.
All right, we'll talk a lot of football the rest of the way. We will hang out with Cynthia Frelund coming up in the 11 o'clock hour. Hear from the Chiefs, Andy Reid, Patrick Mahomes, other players as well. Mick Shaffer in the 1 o'clock hour. We'll be hanging out here at Mod Pizza, our location. New spot in Lenexa. Grand opening an hour from now, coming up at noon. Text says, so if the concrete at 1 Royal Way has cancer, because they had called it
concrete
cancer. Then what is the condition of the concrete across the parking lot at Arrowhead Stadium? They're both built at the same time. What are we thinking is going on with their concrete? I'd imagine it's similar.
Yeah, good question.
I don't know. Maybe it's different facility. Maybe the fountains change things. I'm not really sure. We haven't heard that from the Chiefs, but
the team's foundation's definitely better.
That's true.
That's
right.
all I got.
And they're putting like $200 million into their team. Gosh, what's the difference?
Join the program this Thursday.
The Zone with Jason Anderson.
Talked a lot of Royals today.
Sorry.
Weekdays from 10 to 2 on Sports Radio 810 WHB.
All right, we continue right here on Sports Radio 810 WHB. We are hanging out at Mod Pizza, new spot in Lenexa. Grand opening coming up at noon. They will open the doors for the first time, and it is a really, really awesome spot. There'll be a ribbon cutting, which I have never been a part of or seen. I've been told I won't be a part of this, but I am allowed to watch it. So I've got that going for me, which is nice. But Mod Pizza, 8742 Lorette Boulevard in Lenexa. You'll see the big balloon outside of grand opening. You'll see the banners for 810 on the windows. You cannot miss it, and it's you don't want to miss it as well because it is a fantastic spot in Mod Pizza. Your friends and you can enjoy your very own custom artisan-style pizzas and salads. The price always stay the same, no matter the toppings. One price. Unique pizzas and salads, one price. Again, it's the new spot, Mod Pizza in Lenexa.
What do you think Cynthia Frelund's favorite kind of pizza is, if you had to guess? I know we have no way of asking her directly, but...
I don't know. I guess we'll just have to guess.
I'll think about it.
Let's talk to Cynthia Frelund now.
Whoa, what?
Joining us from NFL Network analytics expert. Beards, you called her just for this question?
Cynthia Frelund.
That's crazy. I can't believe this, Beards. Cynthia, what is your favorite pizza?
I know this is going to sound boring, but if you can make me just a really, really good, cheese pizza, I keep it classic. I want it to have great sauce. I don't need to put a lot of the crazy stuff on top of it. I like a good margarita pizza,
Okay. There you go. Keep it simple. Simple, classy. That's really all you need. Yeah, I mean, I get in different moods. I don't know. I just love all pizza. So sometimes I might be in a margarita pizza. Sometimes I might be.
You just asked me for my favorite. Yeah.
Right. No, absolutely. No. I'm with you. And so sometimes it's just a cheese pizza. Sometimes it's like, you know what? Put everything on it. Everything you got. Throw it on, except onions. Keep those off there, and everything else I'm good with.
Black olives are my line in the sand. I've tried.
I love black olives.
I wish
I
liked
pizza.
black olives. I just
love black olives on pizza.
Sometimes I put.
Ugh.
See, there's some things that just real people of culture really understand, and then people like Jason, simply don't.
Well, people know that the more cultured people don't like black olives.
Yeah,
is that culture?
That's the fun fact.
Is that a less defined palate?
Yeah.
You do or don't like black olives?
Yeah.
Is that the line in the sand of those that can be royal or not in different countries? Is whether or not you enjoy black olives?
I would be a terrible Mediterranean, I guess. I don't know.
You would be. I've always said this about you.
People always say that behind my back, and I figured I'd just say it out loud.
Thing I have said about you. I tweet about it constantly. You just don't see it. I mute the tweet from you being able to see it. Now, as a math nerd, Cynthia, do you look at your pizza that may have pepperonis and stuff, and look at the ratio of pepperonis to other ingredients and toppings, and feel like something's off with that, or maybe you got slided in a different spot?
Yeah, I mean, if it's wrong, it's wrong. You get the math. Everyone does that math. If math were like that for everything, people would love math, right? If it was all about your pizza.
You're so right. You were so right. I choose the pizza slice that I get based on what I prefer in the cheese to topping ratio. My first choice of the pizza slices that are there is based on that. Then when you go back for seconds, it's just about what's left over. But having your choice, it's always okay, what's the best looking one? That's right. So you don't just grab any random slice and then dig in. No, you got to go and really break it down and assess, because that's what we do. We got to be analytical about everything. Cynthia, what is your go ahead. I'm sorry.
Oh, I just said exactly.
Yes, right.
Get that analysis in there.
Let's talk some football. The last couple of weeks haven't really been inspiring for Chiefs fans to see what this Chiefs team has done. Getting by the Broncos, up 27-0. The Broncos end on a 28-7 run. What do you take away? What's your assessment of what the Chiefs looked like in that Broncos game?
Well, I think that looking at what Jerry Jeudy was able to do, I mean, the routes he was running and the lack of figuring out why, they just kept seeing something and going to Jerry Jeudy. It wasn't this wasn't like the biggest strategy ever. Sometimes you get that weird like bump from a different quarterback or a different, set of situations. It's almost harder sometimes to play a team where you have that many question marks than it is to play like the Bills where you can game plan and go for your best, right? So I think it's learning from kind of some of those ways there Jerry Jeudy was able to find success. That's something to take away. And also, it's respect for the Broncos defense. The Broncos have a good defense, their secondary specifically, and that's, something to learn from.
So there's positives and negatives from this game. One of the positives, and let's start with that, because I do want to get into a few things that have come out of this and worries moving forward. But the Broncos defense, how good it is. What have they given up, like 9 passing touchdowns or something all year? Mahomes had 3. He also had the 3 interceptions. So putting into perspective that the Chiefs offense scored 27 points against that Broncos defense, that we can discuss Mahomes' 3 interceptions, but we could also discuss the 350 through the air, the 3 touchdowns, the points that they put on the board, the early, drives in which they, scored on their first 4 drives of the game against that Broncos defense. There's that aspect of what took place on Sunday as well.
Yeah, I mean, look, when I'm looking at the Broncos secondary specifically and their ability, like Pat Surtain, Justin Simmons, these are guys who on another team would be like game wreckers, right? Like if they had a little bit of help, you saw what happens when their offense was able to find a little bit of success. Some of these other games, I mean, their defense has held teams to, 10 points and they've lost, which is very frustrating if you're a Broncos fan, but to be honest, to be able to score in that way and as often as, and to come back from 3 turnovers through the air for Patrick Mahomes, like that is there's a lot to take away there. That's interesting. And also the fact that Russell Wilson had an interception when not under pressure is a good thing for the Chiefs defense. So it's interesting. There's a lot of Juju Smith-Schuster is a huge positive to come out of this game. And then of course the Chiefs defense was able to get pressure. 4 different players had at least 3 different quarterback pressures in the sack. So that's a good note as well.
The Patrick Mahomes day, and then we'll get into the defense. Patrick Mahomes day. One of the things that has happened recently is that he's thrown 7 interceptions in the last, I think, 6 games since the bye.
Yep.
And 3 of them on Sunday certainly skews the numbers there because he had 1 in the previous 3 games combined. So, so there you go. So it's like he's got 4 interceptions in his last 4 games. Yes, he had 3 of them in 1. But those 3 still count. When I'm going back and looking at some of those interceptions late against San Francisco, just throwing the ball down the field, and it felt like there was a carelessness to it. The Jags, it felt like there was a carelessness to it. Being up 27-0 there late in the second quarter. I don't know if it was a carelessness or not, but I kind of feel like there is a tendency sometimes of Mahomes to maybe break free of where, in the game, this is what we have to do, this is what I'm doing, and making plays, and especially late in the game when you've got to do it, and he's taking care of the football and things like that, that there might be a carelessness of just sort of freewheeling and, the guy's down there, let's do it. Oh, whoops, I didn't even see the safety because whatever it is. Do you think there's an element of, and maybe it's human nature with a lot of different quarterbacks, of Patrick Mahomes being careless? Because I think he said a couple of weeks ago, he's like, I got to get rid of those dumb interceptions late in games, not the games that they were going to lose, but just, making dumb decisions late. And that is attributed to his, 11 interceptions he has on the season. Is there an element of when the game maybe gets out of reach a little bit that Mahomes can get careless and try to be too much of Superman?
I mean, it's possible because if you look to see that, like, when and on what kind of passes, like, the interceptions were thrown on, he did have a touchdown on quick passes, but he had 3 interceptions on passes with a time to throw, of 2.5 or more seconds, meaning he's improvising, he's taking longer. It's those 3 interceptions were on, the quick passes were working. The 3, the zone defense combined with improvising. Wow, I can't speak to improvising to get away from pressure, right? Like that was where you're seeing, because all of those interceptions were 2.5 or more seconds. Most were zone defense, and that's something where it feels maybe it's not carelessness, maybe it's just trying to force something to happen when you don't have to.
Cynthia Frelund is our guest, NFL Network analytics expert. Let's talk about the defense. The last couple of weeks, a few weeks ago, heading into the Bengals game, talking with our Chiefs insider Adam Teicher, and we talked about, is this the best defense that Patrick Mahomes has had? And you expect them to only to get better and better because, younger guys and getting more used to Steve Spagnuolo's scheme and that defense. The last 2 weeks haven't been that. Has this Chiefs defense, in your mind, the last 2 weeks regressed and gone backwards in any way, shape, or form?
I don't know about regret. Like, it's interesting because, you talk about like interceptions or sudden changes can be jarring for the defense, just for any team, right? So you don't expect Patrick Mahomes to get picked off 3 times. You expect a different game flow. Now, maybe that's some of their youth not necessarily being – I'm not going to say that they were not ready. I'm going to say that they're seeing something that they haven't seen as often, right? So that the sudden change situations, that's when a lot of points are often scored. You always see – you always hear that adage every time you're watching a Patriots game, right? Like you hear out Bill Belichick, the next play after sudden change is going to be a deep play, a deep pass always. And it almost always is. So – that's the type of thing is they're trying to exploit something that is a weakness, meaning, the defense maybe isn't quite ready. They haven't done they're not expecting it. The element of surprise, they have better, the yardage is more favorable for them. It's not as bad. So, you have that type of situation. I think that's kind of what you saw in this one. I think you saw the defense because the pressures were good. Chris Jones had a good game. It's interesting to see the sack situation and what happened. And Russell Wilson has obviously been playing weird this whole season long, and then you have to deal with Brett Rippon coming in. So, and Marlon Mack comes out of nowhere. Like this is just a lot of things that are hard to game plan for. So yes, it doesn't look good, and yes, it needs to be addressed. But I'm not like lighting it on fire or saying anything bad about it yet. I'm saying that there is some context that needs to be factored in.
Can a defense be too dependent on a pass rush?
I don't know. I mean, yeah, I'm sure it can, but I don't know about this defense because it's not like the players that are in the backfield are not good, right? Like you could be too dependent on your I'm going to take a shot at the Raiders here, but the Raiders secondary versus their front is a completely different situation. When their front's going well, I mean their defensive backs are out of position all of the time. That's not the case here. Like that's just not what's been happening. It's not the same. So maybe they're a little too dependent on their pass rush, but I don't know if I think that the Chiefs are. I'm not willing to say that yet.
Well, and the reason I ask is because the Chiefs are dead last in QBR quarterback rating when the opposing quarterback is not pressured. So out of all teams, when they don't get pressure on the quarterback, the Chiefs come in last. And in the past, since the bye that the Chiefs have played, I threw out the Titans game because it was Malik Willis, and I threw out the Rams game because it was Bryce Perkins. So the Jags, the Chargers, the Bengals, and now the Broncos, they sacked Trevor Lawrence 5 times. They sacked Justin Herbert 5 times. They sacked Russell Wilson 6 times. They only got to Joe Burrow 1 time. But even with the 17 sacks in the previous 4 games, those 4 quarterbacks have a combined 111 quarterback rating. And the top receivers for those teams have almost an 80% catch rate against the Chiefs team. And so we're seeing the pressure, we're seeing the sacks, but then we're also seeing the secondary get picked apart. And so that's why I'm wondering, like, if they don't get pressure, is this defense just a sieve? And while most defenses you would say, well, if you're not going to get pressure, it's going to be tough. But compared to other teams, they are still last when not getting pressure.
Yeah, I guess my only other asterisk there would be what was the score and then what was the outcome, because you're going to play your secondary is going to play a bunch differently if you're up by 27 than if not, and you're also going to the YOLO ball, right? Like if they're Justin Herbert throwing up a YOLO ball is going to be hard for any defense, and if they're trying to come back from a deficit, that's going to be, and same thing with Joe Burrow with the YOLO ball, like these are low probability passes for everyone, but it's hard for a defense in general. So, I mean, I guess the context does matter and the outcome of the game, but like the score does matter. But it is definitely something it is definitely not like, it is definitely an area of improvement. But it's not I don't know if it's like sky is falling necessarily yet. It'll be interesting to see how this week's not going to be a good test, but going forward, it will be an interesting test against a more proficient passing offense.
Yeah, somebody smarter than I that has charted and studied what Spagnuolo has done since 2019, taking over as defensive coordinator, and what's going on this year. If there is a difference in what's going on in the back end of whether it's exotic coverages or changing coverages at the snap or doing some of those things in years past compared to this year, when at times he does have 4 rookies in the secondary. And while it's game 14 coming up, I do wonder how sort of straight and forward the coverage in the secondary has been as to why, well, if they're not putting pressure on it, the quarterbacks know where they're going with the football if they're not being pressured, because the coverages are maybe more predictable than what Spags would like to have.
I mean, again, the rookie situation and the new player playing, we talked ahead of last season. I remember us talking a lot about continuity and the same players playing together and how that's a huge advantage, especially an advantage in COVID year when they weren't hanging out together as often, right? So, but the reality is it's true for everything. So they will get better, and perhaps it is a little bit flatter than Spags would like to throw out there. But they'll get. I'm not. Again, I'm fine. I'm not worried. I don't. And it's not ideal, but if it takes Jerry Jeudy doing something that hasn't happened in years and years and years in order for the Broncos to score, then not to say that's okay, but they're throwing out weird stuff, everything but the kitchen sink stuff, and that's what the Chiefs often get. Okay, great, show them that now so they can learn from it ahead of January.
Yeah, I'm just thinking on the fly here that I know that one of Judy's touchdowns on Sunday, and then the 2 Josh Palmer touchdowns against the Chargers were wide open, sort of broken coverages and miscommunications in the back end. And so maybe that's where we see, because we talked about in the offseason and before the season, Cynthia, that with all the rookies, we say growing pains. That was a term that we used a lot. Well, there's going to be growing pains, especially with these young guys, growing pains. And in, late in the season, maybe we didn't think that would happen, but I'm just thinking of 3 of the 9 touchdowns that have been thrown in those 4 games that I'm talking about that were broken coverages or miscommunication, something in the back end.
Yeah, 2 of Russell Wilson's touchdowns last week were on out-breaking routes, so those are where some busted coverages kind of can be more predominant. So it's, look, busted coverage on man defense, okay, that'll happen, right? The in-breaking route, that's where the interception was for Russell Wilson. So it was probably a little bit more like that.
Visiting with Cynthia Frelund, NFL Network analytics expert. Okay, so one of the things that we have seen this Chiefs team do is turn the ball over. Cynthia, 7 straight weeks where they have a turnover. They are -6 in turnover differential. They are either the only or one of 2 teams that have a winning record with a negative turnover differential. We know that certainly plays a part in wins and losses. The Chiefs have been able, good enough to overcome those things. Turnovers as a predictive measure of future performance. Is there a correlation to that? Is it something that you say they've turned the ball over these 7 games? Well, the next 4 games, they're going to keep doing that. So you might as well count on 4 or 5 more turnovers, 1 per game. Or is there an element of there's noise, there's some luck that goes along with it, and the Chiefs may go the next 4 weeks and not turn it over one time?
Well, I don't think there's going to be – I'd be surprised if there's a turnover this week. Let's just put it that way. I think that – recency, turnovers are that is very, it's rare that you see a strong playoff or Super Bowl team with a negative turnover differential. That is rare, and I'd have to go look and see if it's ever happened. It is, and if you're going to do that, you have to have Patrick Mahomes, and you have to have Travis Kelce, and you have to have there's no way you can do it without top tier talent. But the reality is again, you have to know when these turnovers happen. Are they happening on, we saw, if you watched any of the Seahawks game this past week, the Seahawks turned it over on their first play, on their first offensive play, and that changed the entire cadence, allowing the Panthers to win that game. So when these turnovers are happening, that is incredibly impactful as well, because it's going to change the score and outcome and potential to drive, your entire game plan for many teams has to change if you do that. Now, if you're turning the ball over when you're up 27, it's a lot different. That should count like a half a turnover, something like a little less egregious, right? So that's, and it does allow a shift in the game, and it does change the ability for the other team to potentially come back and win, but it's not as impactful as if it's, play number one on a team that's more closely matched to its opponent.
Yeah, you're right. The how big of a difference maker in a win probability in a game from one turnover to the next. Chiefs were up 27-0 when Mahomes threw his first interception to Jewell. Not as big of a deal compared to the previous week when the Chiefs were up 4 and Travis Kelce fumbled, and that was the one turnover in that game, and they end up losing because that was the second to last possession. Whereas, to your point, if Kelce fumbles on the first possession, Chiefs get 3 points out of that possession. But if he fumbles then, they've got the rest of the game to make up for that. You fumble at that point, you've got one possession left. We know now that they only had one more possession. So that is true because, I talked about that the Chargers games, they're 2-0 against the Chargers. They were also +1 in both of those games against the Chargers. And that +1, the first go-around, Cynthia, was a pick six. That's a pretty massive one turnover to have in that game, and you could probably make a case that if the Chiefs weren't +1 in both those games, we might be talking about something completely different in the AFC West right now.
Exactly. So it's really the hard part is when, and it's kind of the same as like when I go through and do like my turnover differentials, I throw out any Hail Marys that are thrown at ends of halves or ends of games because those aren't real, right? It doesn't, when the time is expired, it doesn't count for anything. You have to the context really does matter. And I throw out anything that happens when you're three scores different, 3 full scores, not 3 field goals, obviously.
Interesting. Visiting with Cynthia Frelund, NFL Network analytics expert. Yeah, that makes total sense. We've been talking about it around here just a little bit, but haven't really got into a deeper dive. Just noticing or noting that on Tuesday, so yesterday, might have even been Monday actually, I think it was, when Mahomes was passed by Jalen Hurts as the betting favorite for the MVP. There has been a lot of debate since then over the last few days, nationally and even locally. As it stands right now, is Hurts the leader for you as MVP, or is it Patrick Mahomes? How do you assess these two players that it seems like a 2-horse race that are both having phenomenal seasons?
I mean, I do think it's a 2-horse race, and I think Jalen Hurts is a close second, closer than in other seasons. But to me, it's Patrick's until further note. The couple reasons. Number one, the Eagles' schedule, we talked about it ahead of the season. The Eagles' schedule is so much, I'm going to use the word easier. I know that, the NFC East did make a case to be a much stronger division than we had originally anticipated, and the AFC West has been a much weaker division than we originally anticipated. But the reality is that, the AFC in general and the schedule that the Chiefs have played in general has been harder than the Eagles. So, you put the Chiefs in the NFC North and lights out. It's a ridiculous comparison, right? So the reality for me is that Patrick's doing this with, he's got one of his original pass catchers from when we've seen the Super Bowl, right? Just Travis Kelce, and that's it. He's had to figure it out with new scheme, a new set of pass catchers, and a defense that has been very young in secondary, and that's a lot harder to overcome. I mean, if you have Jalen Hurts' defense, that's a pretty nice defense to have. And if you have, the second year and then of Devontae Smith with him, and then you add A.J. Brown to the mix, that's a pretty nice offense to have. So it's kind of Jalen Hurts, I'm not taking anything away from Jalen Hurts, but the surrounding cast for Jalen Hurts has been stronger and the schedule has been easier. So if I'm voting, I'm still voting for Patrick Mahomes.
Yeah, and that's interesting because there's been a lot of the debate and some of those, maybe advanced analytics and other things that are context to add to it. We've talked about that, I've got Jalen Hurts on my fantasy team, so I am appreciative of him putting up these crazy numbers. But it does sort of, from just watching from a little bit more, just growing up a Chiefs fan as well. That's people know that there's a bias ingrained there that it's hard to overcome. But just watching that, there was an annoyance in watching Jalen Hurts sort of sit back in the pocket and make a sandwich. And some of these great throws to A.J. Brown and Devontae Smith, which some of them are dimes, and just the amount of time he has in there just to sort of sit in and let the routes develop, as opposed to Patrick Mahomes, who the offensive line was supposed to be one of the strengths of this team, and he's been knocked down the fourth most times in the NFL this year. And Pro Football Focus only credits him with 2 sacks this year. He's been sacked 21 times. They only credit to Patrick Mahomes 2 of them, where Jalen Hurts has 12 sacks credited to him. It becomes annoying watching Hurts just sit back and watch a TV show while the routes are developing and the pocket is just beautiful around him. He's made some awesome plays too when he's under pressure. He can run, so I am not taking anything away from Jalen Hurts. It's just it feels like there's a different vibe of watching the highlights of Jalen Hurts and the highlights of Patrick Mahomes.
Yeah, I mean, it's a different vibe. And, I mean, look, like, I would even say take the O-line out of it. Just give the Chiefs Darius Slay or James Bradbury. Give them one of those, and then it would look even better.
Yeah, absolutely. Cynthia Frelund, NFL Network analytics expert. All right, how wide of a margin should this weekend be with the Chiefs and Texans?
You know, I think that this is another game where, to me, this is a game where I think I have 13 points in my model, which is just a little bit under what Vegas has of 14. Not to say that the Chiefs can't blow it out of the water and score a billion points, but what I think is a smarter play is to run the football. I will also say that there's an asterisk there because if you can name me who's playing for the Texans, I would love to know because it feels like their injury report along with, like, you know, what they decide to do at – like, so there's an asterisk there, but – you know, I would say to run the football here, we saw how Jerick McKinnon does. We saw how Isaiah Pacheco does. We saw how vulnerable this Houston defense is to run. Like, take the easier cheese here and keep it a turnover-free game. Work some things out on the defense. I mean, when their leading pass catcher is a guy named Chris Moore, and we don't even barely know who he is, and I don't think I'm on a show called Fantasy Live on NFL Network, and I don't even think we talked about this guy once. Like, that tells you a little something. So keep it slow, and I'm using the word boring in quotes because, you know, it's not boring to win a nice and easy and not turn the ball over. But, you know, work some things out on with the secondary so you can take whatever weird looks and new things that you could possibly see. Like, last week, the Cowboys got a little bit surprised by some of the looks that the Texans were throwing out because they didn't know there's no film on these people. Who is playing? You know, like they keep cutting people. And Dameon Pierce he's done a great job. We have to give credit to their running back, but he might not even be playing. Like, is he even okay? Like,
I think he's already been ruled out.
Exactly.
In fact,
so
I mean, they won't even see Dameon Pierce this weekend. Yeah, so 13 points. We'll see if that is the margin. Cynthia Frelund, NFL Network analytics expert and pizza lover. Cynthia, thank you so much for the time. I appreciate it as always. Enjoy the football, and we will talk next week.
Yeah, thanks so much. Talk to you next week.
Absolutely. There's a Cynthia Frelund, NFL Network analytics expert. We're hanging out at Mod Pizza in Lenexa. Grand opening coming up at noon. So a half hour from now, they will open up the doors, cut a ribbon. There's a huge balloon outside of grand opening, so you can't miss it. It's on Lorette Boulevard in Lenexa. It is the grand opening. We have the banners on the windows as well. That coming up at noon, they will open up the doors to Mod Pizza in Lenexa, and also a lucky customer is going to win free pizza for a year, 52 free pizza coupons. They will do the drawing tomorrow morning. So come here, sign up for that, and maybe you can walk away with 52 free pizzas.
First 50 people who get here will walk away with free pizza.
What?
How about that? Get to the door. First 50 people in line will get a free pizza.
Do we count?
We were here early, as far as I can tell, so I'm pretty sure. I think I saw Dylan may have gotten a pizza. I'm going to say there are at least 47 left, maybe. So beat that rush. I'll tell you what, if anybody tries to take a pizza out of my hands, I know where they keep the big scissors now.
Me, you, Dylan, and Pamela here. So the next 46 people, first 46 people to show up now, opens up at noon. First 50 people getting a free pizza at Mod Pizza.
I have a different hat in my car. If I put on my jacket and a different hat, they'd probably give me two, right?
You're going to show up in like
Pamela,
a Groucho Marx mask, and it'd be Bobby Valentine in the dugout.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Different. Yeah,
Go put on a fake mustache over my real mustache and just see if I can throw anybody off.
Yeah, that's exactly right. I can just draw it on you like Andy Reid does.
Perfect.
Patrick
that
Mahomes.
Would be really
it happened
good.
again. We'll take a timeout. We'll come back.
I'm going to get to the bottom of this pizza.
More Zone next.
Take the show with you by listening live on 810WHB.com, in the 810 mobile app, or by subscribing to The Zone wherever you get your podcasts. The Zone with Jason Anderson.
Beards, what's your sleep paralysis demon look like? Mine looks like Jason.
What do you mean you haven't seen that movie?
Weekdays from 10 to 2 on Sports Radio 810 WHB.
Pizza in Lenexa, our location today. Grand opening coming up at noon. Big balloon outside. It says grand opening, I believe. There's also 810 banners on the windows. It is 8742 Lorette Boulevard in Lenexa. And a cool spot because individually made, handcrafted, while you watch them make it, custom artisan-style pizzas and salads. And the pizzas and salads made on demand, completely unique. The price always stays the same, though. Any toppings, one price. Add the toppings, one price.
What if I want to add another topping?
I think it'll be the same price.
What if I want to add pineapple?
If they have it, I think it'll be the same price.
What if it's pepperoni?
That I think is a double upcharge.
Oh, I just looked. It's the same price.
Oh, sorry.
Wow, crazy.
I thought that was a trick question. My
Starting
goodness.
to smell like pizza in here also, so I'm starting to get time for a break. Andy Reid coming up next.
That's right.
Beard, do you want to host for 10 minutes? I got a pizza to order.
913-912-4810. Text says, I knew my wife was the one when we first ordered pizza. We both said anything but black olives. Well,
wow.
Sounds like she's bad in taste. Sorry, guy.
Sounds like Jason and I are never getting married.
Sounds like she's a terrible judge of what is good and not. I'm sure you guys are very happy.
No, I'm not sure of that. I don't know you.
Sure you're happy. Text says, Hardman coming back soon. Looking at Twitter, never thought I would see so many happy Chiefs fans about McCole.
That's
Life
right.
comes at you fast.
Jeremy Fowler reported that they're opening the practice window for McCole Hardman. 21 days that they don't have to activate him still, but they could
we'll see him
activate
next week.
As early as this week. It's on the table. I bet we don't see him against Texans.
We'll see him next week.
But it's a big deal for sure.
Tex says, if we're going to say what a quarterback has to work with as far as his teammates, then Lamar Jackson should get the MVP every year. Well, then it would just be the quarterback with the worst group of receivers and tight ends to work with. He's got Mark Andrews and a good running game and a good offensive line, so he wouldn't then be the one to get that. I think the point being, and also, by the way, that was part of the discussion when he did win the MVP in 2019, was about, he's doing all of this with these weapons, so that is part of it. It would be part of the discussion if Lamar Jackson were number one in passing yards by over 400 yards.
Right.
If he was number one in touchdown passes by 6. If he was number one in QBR by 4 points, then it would be part of the discussion with others. But when you've got that quarterback there, and then another quarterback gets a two-horse race with Jalen Hurts, and you're saying, well, A.J. Brown and Devontae Smith and that offensive line and that defense is pretty good, and we are seeing what Mahomes has to work with, even with a phenomenal GOAT at tight end in Travis Kelce. We'll take a timeout. We'll come back. We'll hear from the Chiefs next.
You're in the zone with Jason Anderson on Sports Radio 810 WHB.
Andy Reid's press conference is brought to you by Robert Brogdon Buick GMC and Robert Brogdon's Olathe Kia. Robert Brogdon Buick GMC and Robert Brogdon's Olathe Kia. Visit BrogdonAutomotive.com. And by Andy's Frozen Custard. Andy's Frozen Custard. Enjoy the world's finest frozen custard at Andy's, made fresh every hour. Andy and Andy's, a winning combination.
All right, we continue right here on Sports Radio 810 WHB. Jason Anderson, Josh Brisco, and Beards. We'll hear from Andy Reid. We'll hear from Patrick Mahomes, and also Justin Reid will be at the podium today after Andy Reid and Patrick Mahomes. Text comes in, says, Patrick Mahomes threw as many interceptions on Sunday as Jalen Hurts has thrown all year. This is true. Jalen Hurts has not turned the ball over in throwing interceptions. I would also offer that Patrick Mahomes has thrown 1,000 more yards than Jalen Hurts, and has also thrown 11 more touchdowns than Jalen Hurts. Now Hurts has rushing yards. He's got 680 rushing yards. Mahomes has almost 300 rushing yards. Hurts has 10 rushing touchdowns. Mahomes has 2. So you're still talking about more overall yards, passing and rushing, more touchdowns as well. Yes, he has more interceptions. And in fact, when you look at touchdown passes, the next closest is Burrow with 27. He's got 9 interceptions. Josh Allen has 26 touchdowns. He's got 11 interceptions. Geno Smith has 25. He has 8 interceptions. So, yeah, when you're throwing the ball more, you might have more interceptions, I believe. But Andy Reid is very close to being at the podium. So news from Chiefs is that they have opened up the 21-day practice window for Mecole Hardman. He could play this weekend. We have typically seen when guys come off the IR, the Chiefs wait an extra week after opening up that window. So I would guess next week against the Seahawks, we'll see if Kadarius Toney will actually play this weekend. And it'd be nice if next week, for the final 3 weeks of the season, they get Toney and Mecole Hardman back as wide receivers. So whenever Andy Reid gets to the podium, we will send it out to him, then hear Patrick Mahomes and also Justin Reid. So 2 Reids and a Mahomes today.
Old team for Justin Reid, of course. So this is the first time seeing the Texans again.
You know what? Good point. Okay.
I did a little chat with our friend DP Sidhu in Houston. She covers the Texans for the team, and it was kind of fun to have a little chat with her about, hey, this Justin Reid fella down here, he didn't do a whole lot of this headline making trash talk. What happened in Kansas City? And so it was a fun chat.
Here's Andy Reid.
Really don't have any injuries to talk about. Mecole Hardman will be back out at practice. We'll just see how he does in this ramp-up process. So haven't determined, play or not play. We're just going to ease him back in and see where he's at. Everybody else will practice and do their thing. Before the challenge of playing the Texans, we know records. You can put those things aside at this time of the year. This group here plays hard. They're well coached, and we've got to make sure that we have a good week of practice and get ready for them. So with that, time's yours.
Coach, how close is Kadarius Toney to actually getting back on the field in live action for y'all?
Yeah, so he had a little bit of a ramp up last week, which was good. Came out of that feeling pretty good. So we'll see how he does this week and make a decision, down the road here. So take it day by day, if you want to put that. I mean, just see how he does.
Andy, with Patrick, the previous week you said he had to eliminate one dumb play a game, and this week you said he had a bad play with the interception. What do you guys talk about to try to eliminate those plays as you get into the stretch run?
Yeah, well, nobody likes to make those, but at the same time, you don't want to curb his aggressiveness and desire to make a play. So, because he made a couple good ones too in there. That's not going to happen very often with him. It happens with every quarterback, but they got to keep firing. I mean, that's you start getting hesitant, and then everything falls apart on you. So he'll learn from it and move on. It's pretty simple things that he can adjust to fix it. So, and that's how he's wired. I mean, he's going to go back and look at it, study it, and go, okay, got it under control. Here we go.
Coach, when he dropped, there's the stat I was looking at. Patrick was 13 of 15 for 148, 2 touchdowns when he was blitzed. Right? They also had times when they're dropping a lot of guys. When they do that, is your offense structured that there's always something for that, or is it that you got to get to a different spot on the play sheet and have the right dial up for when they do that?
Yeah, you hope that it's situated within it. However, there are some things that are better than others. You don't want to get caught in a guessing game. If you have a true hard soul tendency there that they're doing this on this down or this particular part of the field, then you can dial up one of these other plays. But normally your normal plays that we put in for the different areas normally cover that in there somewhere. Yeah.
I know you often come out and say, hey, I got to give them better things. Patrick comes out and says, I got to make better decisions, right? But so it's obviously a joint effort between you guys and the whole staff and everything. But how obviously you get it right more than you get it wrong, right? You're not standing at that podium for this many years if you don't. But how often do you feel like oh wow, they got me? That you just have to tip your cap to the other coach?
Yeah, when I tell you that, I'm kind of tipping my hat to them. There sometimes, that's the fun part. It's a chess match, and every once in a while they're going to get you, and you hope you get them more than they get you, and so there's some great minds in this league, and good football minds, and so they're going to get you every once in a while.
Andy, we're at the latter third of the season. Just I wonder, with you guys' pursuit of Juju the year prior, just what has he given the offense that perhaps you anticipated on his arrival and perhaps that you didn't anticipate?
Yeah, we were hoping that he could kind of counter Kels, and this offense is best when you can kind of do that. We had Sammy, and then Pringle developed into that as we went, and that's when it rolls the best. And so he's come in and done that, and does a nice job with it. So he's got a great feel for the game. He's got great feel in space, and then he's really tough to bring down. I kind of forgot about that part. After he gets that ball in his hands, man, you try to hit him in his lower body, he can shuck it off like a running back, and that's special to have that.
Coach mentioned McColl's going to be back. How did he handle these last 4 weeks behind the scenes, and what are the unique traits maybe you felt like you missed over that stretch?
And we lost a bunch of weight, and so it was a matter of kind of getting that back, but not, with cheeseburgers, right? But get back some good hearty weight and strength, and so he's been working on that. He's been working like crazy on that, and he's going to continue to do that here. He'll do that this week when he's out practicing and doing that. Okay, can we hold the weight and add a little bit to it? So.
Coach, you mentioned throw the records out when you're facing a team that's struggled with wins and losses. They've obviously battled hard. They almost won last week. This is a coach that you've seen in the past, right? What does a Lovie Smith team look like traditionally, and has this team got some of those characteristics?
No, I'm friends with Lovie. I think he's a heck of a guy and a great coach. He came from that Tampa 2 group of coaches that did that, and he's evolved with that and with the way the game is now. So he's going to give you a great defense that plays hard and aggressive, an offense that's tough. Just the fact that they used 2 quarterbacks and platooned them, it wasn't because one wasn't doing well, but they platooned him in, and he's not afraid to do whatever he has to do to win the game, and so that's where the challenge comes in. And his guys play hard for him, so you have to be prepared and ready to go. And in this league, the margin between winning and losing is like that. It's crazy, greater than it's ever been right now. So
your years at BYU overlapped with Mike Leach's, and I'm wondering if you ever came across. I know he didn't play football, but did you come across him? And he was, I guess, working in football, working in the office at some point during his career.
Yeah, no, that was before me. I'm a little bit older, but I knew Mike, and a good guy and very creative. He didn't visit here, but he spent some time with us in Philadelphia during training camp a couple different times, and just a good guy. I mean, it's a sad deal, but he left a nice legacy behind him for sure for football, and good. You know, like I said, very unique. I mean, the story. I love the story he told me about. I said, you know Donald Trump? We got talking about that. This was years ago, even before Donald was the president. And he goes, oh yeah, I was walking through New York. I saw the tower, went up, introduced myself to him. Like it was no big deal. I mean, you know, but he talked himself through. I mean, Donald had security back then too. He talked himself through that, and then Donald found him that kind of personality. I mean, he was just a unique guy, and that's the way he coached, and that's why everybody loved him for that. You know.
We see Patrick something of a descendant. I mean,
Yeah, sure. Yeah. His coach, played for him, or worked with him for sure. Yeah.
Couple more guys. Coach, NFL exec Troy Vincent said this morning at the league meeting there would be a, quote, a healthy discussion, end quote, on making roughing the passer either reviewable or challengeable. So the discussions will come up in March at the owners' meeting. How much do you support this sudden movement to make that roughing the passer penalty reviewable?
I'm going to hold off on that. Because I'm gonna be in those meetings. So I'm gonna sit on the picket fence on that one.
We'll go Nate and Sam to finish up. Andy, on another coach, again, we're towards the latter half of the season. I just wonder, with Mike Kafka being an offensive coordinator for the first time, have you had a conversation with him? Have you had time to look at what the Giants have done? Obviously, they're in a playoff push, but just seeing another guy being in that role for the first time under you.
Yeah, we've texted back for it. I mean, we're both busy and cranking away. You don't have a lot of time to have phone calls and that. So, but we have texted, and I think he's done a tremendous job. And they're playing good football, and my hat goes off to him. And Dable too. I mean, Dable was here. You guys know him, and what a great job. That's a tough place. You know, that whole Eastern Seaboard area, man. That's a great competition right there. So that's I think my hat goes off to those guys. Yeah.
Last one, Sam.
Andy, I'm guessing usually by this time of the year you've got a pretty good idea of where you guys are, but with the secondary being so young, how much are you still learning about the strengths and weaknesses, what you guys can do with that?
Yeah, so they're kind of getting through that part of the year where the bowl games are starting, the season's over, and now you got another season. So they kind of go through that whole rookie thing, and if they're playing, they have the chance to play, and they're going, man, my body's a little of this, and my mind's a little of this, and I got to power through it, and here we go. So, but I love their attitude. I love the way they compete, and I love the way they're getting better, and it's early it was leaps and bounds, and now it's settled down a little bit to where it's smaller jumps, but we're going to be okay there. The attitude's got to stay the way it is, and keep competing and have a short memory when you're back there. That's one thing you have to learn in this league, that you better learn from it, get that in there, and then get the garbage out, and then go compete the next play. So.
All right.
Yep. All right.
All right, there's Andy Reid. We'll hear from Patrick Mahomes as he gets to the podium. But, I wonder if he was mentioning, and there's a number of things to take away from that, but just a quick point on that last question and answer of the rookies. I wonder if he's talking about anything specific with these guys when he's like, it's the bowl games and another season starts in the NFL, really, in your body. You go through that rookie thing. You got to power through. And he said, love the attitude. You're listening to Sports Radio 810 WHB. More on that. Here's Patrick Mahomes.
Travis Scott.
Mm-hmm.
What do you feel like those say about him as a player?
Yeah, I mean, it talks to his consistency. Obviously, he's a great player, and we know that, and he's had this great run. But if you look at his career, he's just been consistently great every single year. And that tight end position is hard. You take a beating, you're blocking, you're catching over the middle, taking hits, and he just prepares himself the right way that he can be out there and available for us every week. So truly great player and a great teammate for sure.
You feel like those things mean a lot to him?
If they do, he doesn't even make it look like it, because I sit beside him on the plane and I said something to him about it. He was like, "Oh yeah, man, yeah, it's cool." He's all he's worried about is winning, and I think that's what all the great players are worried about. And the stats kind of come, but at the same time, he's just trying to win a lot of football games.
Your coach just basically said that if you do throw an interception, you will spend all week long looking at what you could do different, and review. So after last week's game, what have you kind of seen? Is there any kind of something you found yourself in a pattern, or what you've observed?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's just more of me just taking what's there and not trying to force it. If it's not there, throw the ball away, especially when we're in field goal range. And then when I'm trying to dirt the ball, don't leave it where the guy can get his hand underneath it and pick it. So it's just a couple bad mistakes throughout the game. But when you look at the tape, I thought I played pretty good other than those 3 picks. So just trying to clean those up.
Patrick, I think this is the first time you will play in Texas. I recognize it's quite a bit of distance from where you're from. But still, does that mean anything to you? Do you have extra people coming because of that or anything?
Yeah, I have a couple extra people coming. Yeah, it's the first time I'm playing in the state of Texas, and I went to the Cowboy Stadium my first year, and when we played down there, and didn't get to play, but to get down to Houston, I mean, it's like a 3-hour trip, 3.5-hour trip from Tyler, Texas. So I'm sure there'll be more people than I even know that are coming down to watch the game. But it'll be cool to kind of see some people and they'll get to see me play in my home state for sure.
Patrick, how impressed are you with the Andy Reid's play design when it comes to the screen game, and what do you think goes into having such success with that for you guys?
Yeah, I think we just do a great job of tying plays together. I think that's the biggest thing is we make it all look like it's the same, and when he's just really good at calling it, the timing. I mean, it seems like every time he calls a screen, it's on a pressure, and it's called right into it. So it's a thing where the coaches do a great job of designing it and tied it all together, and then Coach Reid does a great job in EB of calling it at the right time whenever it gets open and can get a lot of extra yards.
Patrick, when they seem to do a pretty good job of mixing between blitzing and then dropping a lot of guys. I'm curious, within the play designs, like, does every play have I got a guy I go to if they drop 8, and I got a guy I go to or is there sometimes that, oh wow, we're just kind of screwed. Like we thought they were going to do this and they went the other way, and I don't really have an out here.
Yeah, I mean, most times there's either a guy that I have a hot that I can throw to, or we have guys that can kind of work whenever drop 8 comes. They do a good job of calling those good versus all plays. But, I mean, obviously there's some times when you call a game plan-specific play that you want to get a certain coverage or a certain look, and they might do something that was un-game plan, unscouted. And so they got us a couple times throughout the game, but we did a great job of kind of settling in there and getting to those good versus all plays because we knew that they were doing a little bit of different stuff, especially in the late second quarter, early third.
And against the blitz, and I saw that 13 of 15, 2 touchdowns. I mean, that happens a lot when they blitz you. That the numbers, your numbers against that are really good. You're at the end of the game, I can't believe they did that this many times.
Yeah, I mean, it's a hard position for a defense to be in. I mean, there was a couple times in the game that I didn't throw the ball where they got sacks because they were blitzing. So, whenever defense is trying to give you different looks, when you have a talented offense, there's going to be times where they get on a blitz and give up yards. But at the same time, they have to live with that if they're able to make the tackle, because then they're hoping they blitz and get negative plays as well.
Patrick, when you're in the moment there with everything, you said after the game, trust me, I know when I messed up and you're kind of hot on the sideline. Talk about the process of trying to calm down when you still got more game to go with Andy and EB and everybody on the sideline there, trying to make sure you just make the right adjustments going forward.
Yeah, you just kind of have to flush it and keep playing. I mean, obviously I knew that those 2 turnovers before half were big. It kind of kept them in the game and got the momentum back on their side. But I think you see me on the sideline, I'm talking to the guys, I'm like, we're going to have to score again. We're going to have to put up another touchdown to win this game. And it's about keeping the bigger picture in mind. I mean, obviously it stinks at that time when you throw an interception, but we're still up in the ball game. We still have to find a way to win the game, so how are we going to do that? And that just kind of hit the move on and keep going.
On that third touchdown, was your first read right on that? Like after the game, you pretty much know what you did. When you go back and look at those plays where the interception happened, were you right after the game, or do you see something different when you go back and look at tape?
Yeah, I mean, the first one, I thought I could have got to an easier completion instead of trying to force it into Travis. The second one, like I said, I was trying to just dirt the ball. I just threw it too far. I was trying to just not get intentional ground. I'm in the pocket. and throw it away kind of behind Sky on the ground, and he makes a great play on it. And then the third one was just I forced it, try to put it in a window that wasn't really there. So you have a good feel for it because you can see it on the tablet and on there on the sideline. But I think what makes you more upset was kind of like the first one. I feel like I had other guys open that I could have got the ball to. So that's the only one that I really feel like I made a decision. I could have made a different decision to kind of help the team out.
Patrick, on your third touchdown against Denver, everybody's watching you sort of scramble and obviously extend the play, but what jumped out to you, I guess, in the moment in finding Juju, and then if you're looking at it on the tablet or looking at it on film afterwards, what did you think Juju did well there to stay open for you?
Yeah, he just stayed alive. I mean, he's kind of a guy who's trying to attract people so he could get Travis open, and obviously they dropped right into where he wanted to throw the football. And so instead of just kind of running off and letting the play in, he just kept working. And you could see it, I think, from the back end zone view of he's moving side to side, just trying to find a way to give me a spot to throw the football. And so he got open. I was able to give him the ball in a big moment. But it's going to take that. I mean, not every play is going to be perfect. We're going to have to be able to make some plays whenever the play call isn't perfect. And so I thought he did a great job of continuing to work and not giving up on it.
You never played for Mike Leach, but you kind of did.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I just want to know what your thoughts on Mike and what kind of influence, I mean, by extension, did he have on you?
Yeah, I mean, a huge influence. I mean, the way that I play the sport, I feel like it fits that scheme very well of just finding good space throughout the field. And even though you might not say you have like that Mike Leach coach in the NFL, I feel like a lot of his schemes and type of how to play is kind of infiltrated the NFL. And so obviously he was Coach Kingsbury. That was his coach. I think I was Leach's first quarterback and influenced him to become a coach. I learned from Coach Kingsbury, so I feel like I've learned from Mike Leach himself. So just prayers to his family, man. I mean, obviously a sad deal, but his impact will be known for a long time around the NFL and around college football as well.
You ever get to know him at all?
I didn't get to meet him, but I mean, I knew a lot of people that knew him. I mean, I've worked a little bit with Graham Harrell, who has obviously played with them and coached with them at Washington State. Obviously, Eric Morris, another offensive coordinator I had at Texas Tech, was there. I mean, there's so many people that I've known that have known him and told the amazing stories I think everybody's heard of the characteristics that he has. But, I mean, he loved football, and he made a huge impact on the game.
Did you run a similar thing in high school? I mean, everyone in Texas runs some sort of a spread. Some of that went to Tech, and some of it came from Tech to everywhere. Were you running that the whole time you were in high school?
Yeah, I ran the exact same offense. My coach in high school went to Texas Tech, so he kind of had that same style of offense. I went on visits there, and I was trying to learn what they were doing to add it into our offense. And so it's a great offense to run, especially when you want to score points. And I wanted to score a lot in high school.
Just similarly, did Coach Cook actually play? He was walk-on.
Yeah.
At Tech. Did he actually play for Cliff?
I would assume so. Just I don't even know honestly off the top of my head, but I would assume so that he was under that same coaching staff. But if you look at that coaching staff and the players that they had, I mean, there's coaches all around college football that are in that now in the NFL as well. And so, like I said, he made a tremendous impact on the game of football itself. And like I said, prayers to his family at this time.
Patrick McCall will begin his ramp-up process today. I guess we'll see about this week. But what do you feel like you maybe have missed when that weapon in particular in the offense is?
Yeah, I think getting McCall and KT back will just add another dimension. I mean, obviously they can do the jet sweeps and stuff like that, but just adding that speed to the field, it makes teams have to honor it. And obviously Marquez has done a great job of filling that role, and so has Sky. But just to continue to add speed to any offense like that those two guys have, I think it'll open up everybody else because you have to really account for those two guys on every play.
Sam?
Patrick, when you mentioned earlier, you go back and look at one of those interceptions that somebody else is open. How often does that happen throughout a game when it doesn't result in an interception, even if it's a completion? I mean, I'm guessing that's a handful of times.
Yeah, for sure. And that's stuff you try to just continue to kind of log in your memory to try to find that open guy whenever it's there. I mean, if you look at the one I tried to over the middle to Travis, I felt like I had Marquez kind of popping at the end of that play. And so I had seen him early, he was covered, and I thought that the backside corner was going to fall off, and he didn't. So it's just I got to continue to stay throughout my reads and learn from them so that I don't give up and I can hit those big plays when they're there.
Patrick, just one quick thing about the Texans. The record really isn't something that everybody's jumping up and down about, but a Lovie Smith team. Is there anything that you look at that you want to be concerned about or focus on?
Yeah, I mean, they're well coached. I mean, they play hard. They're well coached. Obviously, Lovie's done a lot of great things in the league. And so you gotta go in there with the mentality you have to play your best football. I think you saw last week. I mean, they played a great football team in the Cowboys, and they were down there where they probably should have won. So in this league, you can take no one for granted. I mean, those are NFL players. They have a lot of talented young guys that play really hard, and we understand it'll be a great challenge for us. So we're going to go out there and play our best football to win.
Thanks, Patrick.
Patrick Mahomes, McCole Hardman, Kadarius Toney. We'll see when those guys are back on the field for the Chiefs. The drop 8 or the blitz. Seren asked them and said that there are a number of plays that are good versus all. So whether that's a drop 8 or a blitz, they've got the plays there that are good versus all, but sometimes there's unscouted looks that they see, and they got to adjust to that. As far as the turnovers, you got to flush it and keep playing. He told the sideline that they had to score again to win. He was right, even when they were up 27-7. Some more on that, but here is Justin Reid.
Try to look at every game like it's just a regular season game. This is your former team. What's going through your mind as you're going to visit them?
Oh, I'm excited. You know, I have a lot of personal relationships with a lot of those guys, a lot of love for those players, for the coaching staff. So it's a fun game for me personally to go back and be in the atmosphere that I began my career in.
How the organization is different? You know, Houston to Kansas City, you know. And I'm not asking you to speak ill of, you know, your previous employer, but just what you come in here and you go, okay, this is what they're doing here?
Well, the clearest difference is right now the Texans are still in a little bit of a rebuilding stage, and Kansas City is in the middle of a championship run. You know, so the pieces are a little bit better put together at this moment in time, although Casario and Lovie Smith, I'm sure, do a great job rebuilding that culture and building the Texans back up again.
Justin, with the secondary, I know it's been some up and downs going on there, especially with Denver. What's the conversations been like to try to improve as you get to the stretch run for you guys?
Yeah, you know, to take a step back, look at the big picture and really focus on ourselves, not so much what other teams have been doing, but how can we get better each and every day at our technique and really tighten up the defense so that those leaky yardage plays, like the screen play, you know, just eliminate those from our game. Because as we know in the NFL football, in the National Football League, plays that you get and you let up like that, you're going to tend to see them again until we prove that we can stop them.
Specifically with the cornerbacks, though, I know in the safety you're talking to them, but specifically with them, you know, they're young and they're at the point where, you know, they'd be preparing for college bowl games now. So what has it been like them seeing them trying to just make sure they still keep up and ramp up, because they know your stretch run now in the NFL is a lot different than their stretch run that they experienced before.
And, you know, the games will continue to get faster, especially as we start approaching January. The games will start to get faster. Still give a lot of credit to them. They're young guys and came in. We put a lot on their plate. I mean, to have 2, 3, 4 rookies sometimes on the field playing 30, 40, 60 snaps a game, that's not an easy task, especially with the defense that we run. But they've been up to the challenge, and each week they've gotten a little bit better. You're going to have ups and downs in the National Football League. That's how the league goes. Opposing offenses have some firepower too. But overall, you've seen that they've grown both mentally and following the defense and also their technique-wise. And, you know, as things go up and down, this trend is still heading upward. So we're going to need them to come through, and I expect and I'm confident in them to still come through for us as this stretch continues to go down the road.
Justin, you guys have hinted at this. I mean, you do feel maybe at 27-0, you guys are getting stops, the offense is going up and down the field, that maybe there was kind of an exhale and a little bit of a letdown that kind of opened the door?
Yeah, and, you know, it's still a divisional matchup, so the Denver Broncos are never one to go down easy, especially when you're playing inside of the division. But I think there's still a lot of lessons to be taken from that. I mean, you've seen upsets happen across the league. We were able to come out of that one still with the win. But still to take that with us going forward, that when we have a team in that position, to really keep our foot on the pedal and not allow it to even become close.
Everyone's on scholarship, right? Like even if they're not having the season they want to have,
they're
good players, good coaches.
All it takes is a swing of momentum.
Right. Did they make an adjustment there at the end of the first half? I know because your offense then I think had a quick 3 and out, and you guys had to get right back out there. So if they made a change, you didn't have a lot of time to maybe look at the tablets and do all that.
Yeah, Russell started hurting us a little bit more with his legs. Started scrambling a little bit more, and you know, let's not sleep on Russell Wilson and the type of player that he is. You know, it isn't his best year right now, but he's still a Super Bowl champion, Walter Payton Man of the Year, and a very high caliber quarterback. So once he got his footing underneath him, he was able to do some damage to us. But like I said earlier, you guys got to use that as a learning lesson and continue to move forward and focus on ourselves as we approach the Houston Texans.
Justin, you played with Davis Mills last year and also Driscoll. Give us a scouting report on those guys. What do you think about those two guys?
Yeah, they have a unique 1-2 combo. Davis Mills, a little bit more of the pocket passer. Guy is very, very accurate whenever he's able to get comfortable in the pocket and deliver balls on rhythm timing. And Jeff Driscoll, I kind of liken him to Taysom Hill, a guy who can get gritty, a lot of quarterback option, physical runner, good speed. So they got a good 1-2 punch there that they're trying to work.
Any more difficulty than normal knowing you're preparing for two guys?
Well, yeah, you're preparing for two different quarterbacks, so a lot of focus ends up being who's the guy under center, and that changes the way they want to play a little bit.
You mentioned, was trying to ask, I'm not saying bad about the Texans or their organization, but when you were there as a young player, they felt like they were getting into those championship years and how quickly things can kind of fall apart. Is that a lesson learned for you to just not say, it's just going to be like this forever, and you guys have to stay on it all the time?
Yeah, well, the NFL, the system of the NFL is built for teams to be 8-8 teams, with the draft position, with the way that the waiver claims work and everything like that. It's also a lesson in just how fast things can turn around, going from a 12-4 team to a team that's 4-12. Every year is different in the NFL. Credit to the coaching staff and the core group of guys that are here in the Kansas City Chiefs that we've been able to sustain less for a number of years now. That is by no means easy at all. There's a huge amount of credit that goes up to Clark Hunt and all the way down that tree from there. But the NFL changes very quickly. I mean, Miami has turned itself around from a team now struggling to now a team that is doing very well. And that's the same thing that can happen over there.
Justin, you guys have gotten some picks recently with the backers and the key pick from Snead at the end of the game, this past game. Is there an emphasis right now behind the scenes of ball hawk type of mentality, and how does that maybe shift a little bit, as you try to carry that into the secondary?
Yeah, we've been putting a higher emphasis on takeaways, however we can get them, interceptions, forced fumbles. There hasn't been enough so far in the season, but the positivity is that hopefully we're just saving them for this last stretch in December, January, February, and we can get them on.
Emphasis on the turnovers, putting a higher emphasis on interceptions and fumbles that they haven't been happening so far this year. Hopefully that will change as the season progresses. More of Justin Reid, Beards?
You're emphasizing forcing some fumbles and getting some picks. How do you do that? How do you emphasize that? What can you do to sort of speed that process along, so to speak?
First and foremost is practice habits. In practice, if it doesn't happen in practice, it's not going to just magically start happening in the game. So we've been harping on it, really have a focus on getting our head across, getting physical, punching the ball out, that type of stuff. And then in the game, you just got to follow through with it. You just can't let your coaching and your training go by the wayside when you get to the game situation. Obviously, in opportunities where you got to make the tackle and secure it first. But when the opportunity is there that the tackle is secure and you have a chance to rip at the ball, we need to do that a little bit more.
Okay, thanks everyone.
Yeah, appreciate you guys.
All right, there's Justin Reid. Practice habits. If it doesn't happen in practice, it's not going to happen in the game. Trying to get your head across or head around, punch at the football, try to rip it out. I haven't seen that very much from the Chiefs in trying to cause a fumble. He hasn't played this year. At least I don't think he's played. He may have played just a little bit. But Darius Leonard, now Shaq Leonard. I mean, just watching him play, I feel like every time he approaches a ball carrier, his right or left arm, whichever arm he's going to, so like if the ball carrier is running to Leonard's right and he's chasing him down, his right arm comes across and punches at the ball while he's wrapping up. And obviously not everybody can do that because he's brilliant at doing that. He is one of the best. I mean, Peanut Tillman did that all the time, but Darius Leonard is required to get tackles as a linebacker. So his ability to go and as he's wrapping up to punch with both hands, if he's running to his left, wrapping the ball carrier up to his left, punching with his left hand, and then that being the hand that ultimately gets to wrap around through the football. It doesn't happen every time, but the amount of forced fumbles for Darius, now Shaq Leonard, is extraordinary, and it's because he does that over and over and over and over. And that is absolutely, Forced fumbles are a skill. Recovering fumbles are luck. I have always believed that, and I think the analytics say that. And if you look at Darius Leonard, I don't think it's lucky that he's forcing all the fumbles he is, because he makes a point of emphasis of, my job is not only to bring the guy down, my job is to get the football too. And I don't see the Chiefs doing that very often.
I'm putting a remix on this. I'm not sure that this is true, but I think it probably is. Batted balls are a skill. Catching them might be luck. And the Chiefs have had a handful of those as well. When you think about their turnovers this year, obviously the Jalen Watson pick six is like the highlight of the year, and the moment it was in. Willie Gay makes an incredible play. But, like, you think of the batted balls where I off the top of my head here, but Chris Jones and George Karlaftis, both very good at it. Carlos Dunlap, very good at it. Even Frank Clark. That really is a spot where the Chiefs' defensive line is probably exceptional compared to the rest of the league, where there aren't a lot of places that's the case. They have been able to create some timely turnovers that way. I mention all of that to say, to your point, I don't think I could tell you the last time I went, whoa, what a punch out by a Chiefs defender. It seems like, maybe you get your head on the ball. Maybe you end up having a ball get jostled loose before they hit the ground. But, if they could magically, adopt that peanut punch sort of, or really the Leonard comparison's a great one in terms of the actual technique behind it. I would love to see the Chiefs find a way to create some more turnovers. It would give the Chiefs offense a little margin for error that it hasn't had in years.
Yeah, so he's played 3 games this year. He's not playing anymore, but he played 3 games in the middle of the season this year. Didn't start at the beginning and then played a few, and now he's done. But the previous 4 years, these are the forced fumbles over the season. 4, 3, and then last year he had 8. So maybe it is a little bit luckier last year. But I think when you do it over and over and constantly you're doing it, he led the NFL in forced fumbles last year in stripping the ball 8 times or punching it out 8 times. That's huge, man. That is huge. And I haven't even looked it up. I could probably do it real quick and just see, like, how many forced fumbles have the Chiefs had this year. And I mean forced fumbles on a ball carrier, not like a strip sack.
Right.
Because I think that's different. Because Darius Leonard isn't forcing fumbles on a strip sack. I mean, he does have those. But, I mean, the forced fumbles in Peanut Tillman, those are coming from the ball carrier coming at him or away from him and punching the ball out and taking what is a generic play to a game-changing turnover.
My word should not be gospel on this because I forget little details of just game flow stuff pretty frequently. But the last one I remember is Melvin Ingram, Melvin Gordon last year. That was one of those plays, and I think that was helmet on the ball because it came out with some juice to it. I think
he came in like a wrecking ball.
He really did, and so that's the last one that I have a real mental note of. But obviously, that play was enormous, and it was multifaceted. So.
The Chiefs have forced 8 fumbles this year. They have recovered. Well, where's that at? 1, 2, 3, 4. So 4 fumble recoveries? Yeah.
Had the strip sack returned to its previous owner, obviously, so that one didn't get there. That's not the point, that's strip sack.
Nick Bolton has forced 1 fumble. L'Jarius Sneed has forced 3. Chris Jones 2.
That's a good way to do it.
Carlos Dunlap 1.
So
and
other
then
than
Chris
the pass
Lamons
rushers, what was the Nick Bolton one?
That's a good question. I'm trying to think of was that on a pass rush? Was that on a sack? I probably should remember. But, by the way, because he's made 131 tackles so far, so but also that's kind of the point. And this is not to say, well, Nick Bolton needs to be better. I mean, I think the last couple of weeks, certainly he needs to be better.
Right.
Yeah. But he's got 131 tackles. And 1 forced fumble.
Nick Bolton took the ball from Keenan Allen. I'm trying to get the highlight to load here, but
that happened in the Chargers game.
It would be weird if it happened in any other game.
Well, I meant the most recent Chargers game. Sorry, duh.
No, we're both. I'm just trying to stall because Beard's is like, "Hey, take a break," and I'm like, "No, but Beard's here's the thing: that the highlight's almost loaded."
People are probably screaming at their radio.
Furious.
Like, what is the? Fourth quarter. Keenan Allen was running down the field. He punched it out.
So Bolton comes over
and
from
punches it out,
topping around and
clubs down
and
at the
does.
football, and
So
he knocks it free.
That's an example
There
of
you
a field flipping play as the Chargers had just gotten across midfield at that point.
And they were down 3, and they were going in to at least get a field goal.
Yep, and then Nick Bolton stopped it with a play like that. So that's the type of the exact style of play that we're talking about.
And just for comparison's sake, Nick Bolton's got 131 tackles this year and 1 forced fumble. Last year, Shaq Leonard had 122 tackles and 8 forced fumbles. I mean, it's just simply what he does.
That's 7 more possessions there. I mean, that's what
exactly
you're talking
right.
about, is you're stealing possessions.
Yes, and it's not like, well, more needs to be on Nick Bolton's plate. No, I think it's just a general philosophy of just, hey, if Justin Reid is saying practice habits, we're doing this, we're making an emphasis on punching and ripping the ball out. I haven't really seen that this year, of an emphasis on punching and ripping the ball out. I don't know. Other things to take away from that press conference. We'll do that on the other side of the break. Hanging out at Mod Pizza in Lenexa. The grand opening today. Doors are open now for you to come by and try this phenomenal pizza that is here in a cool spot, cool experience. We'll tell you more about that on the other side of the break. More Zone next.
Patrick Mahomes press conference, brought to you by Xfinity Sports Zone. Xfinity Sports Zone, the ultimate sports hub experience, only from Xfinity. By Premier Volvo Cars of Overland Park, the only Volvo dealership in Kansas City, where luxury and safety meet. Premier Volvo Cars of Overland Park at 78th and Metcalf, or PremierVolvoCarsOverlandPark.com. And by Westlake Ace Hardware. Visit your local Westlake Ace Hardware today, online at westlakehardware.com. Westlake Ace Hardware. Small projects, big know-how. Ask away.
You're in the zone with Jason Anderson
To be honest, I didn't even know who Jason Anderson was.
on Sports Radio 810 WHB.
There's nothing wrong with that, but there is something wrong if you don't know what Mod Pizza is. Lenexa, Kansas, our location, the newest location for Mod Pizza. It is here, the new hot, fast, casual restaurant in Lenexa. And hot isn't just good looking, but also fast and casual restaurant. High quality food that is made on demand. Every pizza or salad made on demand. Completely unique. The price is always the same, though. It stays the same no matter what toppings you add or subtract or whatever you might do to your pizza. Any toppings you can add on, it is still just one price. So you can visit this Mod Pizza in Lenexa. And you can sign up and maybe win free pizzas for a year. They're giving away 52 free pizza coupons. They will do the drawing tomorrow. So it is open today, grand opening today. They did the ribbon cutting today as well. So the location in Lenox, 8742 Loretta Boulevard. There's a huge balloon outside of grand opening. You see the 810 banners on the windows, and we are here till 2 o'clock, but they remain open. They are now open moving forward, and you can come in today, sign up for free pizzas for a year. They will do the drawing tomorrow morning.
When we were getting our pizza, I asked kind of what the usual timeline of it all is, and they said they can get you from the front of the line to the checkout with a pizza in your hand in about 8 minutes.
That'll do.
It does not take very long for them to cook it. So if you're thinking of like a midday lunch spot, this is perfect. Come with somebody else and you can hang out and have a nice time. The atmosphere is really cool and laid back. The pizza's excellent, all very quick, but you wouldn't know that it was quick. By the quality and by the customization. I got the Calexico, little buffalo chicken pizza, but I said, what if we don't do that blue cheese? And they're like, that's going to be the same price. I said, okay, well, what if I add pineapple to half of it? It's like, that's going to be the same price. What if I add red onions? Same price.
What if I add that ribeye steak there? They're like, sir, we don't have that, but it would be the same price if we did.
I have one in my backpack, and they were like, that just doesn't seem safe. For how long has that been in there? What is that on it?
Look, it's dry aging right now.
Right,
yeah. Right? So, leave me alone. Don't judge me in how I age my ribeye.
So I would say that go ahead and just use the ingredients they have here because they are fresh, they are ready to go.
Whatever you're into.
And they will expertly assemble them for you, and you get a hot fresh pizza, just bang, just like that, less than 10 minutes. Incredible.
It took half that for me to eat it.
Yeah, I plowed through mine.
Appreciate the press conferences going on at that time.
It was great timing.
It's nice just to eat and take notes and everything. That's great.
Yeah, I heard Andy Reid say a couple of things, and then a lot of crunching, and then Patrick Mahomes said a couple of things, a lot of crunching. And then I took a nap during Justin Reid, actually.
Yeah, he talked about that Mecole Hardman needs to put on the healthy weight, not just cheeseburgers. I'm like, well, don't come to Mod Pizza.
Well, I do, because they got a lot of healthy
They do,
options
but
also.
I mean, you're going to eat a lot of it, though.
That's true.
That's
a self-control issue. Mecole Hardman could come here and then just have better self-control than we do.
Also, is Mecole Hardman really going to put on weight that's just going to be like flopping over his waistline?
Yeah.
I mean, come on.
It would be like seeing the Energizer Bunny with a muffin top. It's like, I don't think that's really how
Yeah.
I don't think Mecole Hardman is physically capable of like converting food into fat.
I don't think Mecole Hardman's body would ever be capable of developing a dad bod.
No, no.
I don't think it's possible.
It seems completely impossible.
I do want to be a little bit more fair to Nick Bolton because in the break going and looking at different things in terms of forced fumbles, because we're talking specifically Nick Bolton and all the tackles, but the forced fumbles, because comparing it to Shaq Leonard, which looking at it and looking at just linebackers as opposed to defensive ends, outside linebackers, guys that are getting fumbles from the quarterback.
We're trying to get the strip sack out of the equation for this conversation. Right.
And so I feel like comparing him to Shaq Leonard, looking at other linebackers in the league and what they've done, I feel like is saying, hey, Joe Burrow, you're an awesome quarterback. Why don't you do more of the crazy running around and flip the pass like Mahomes and underhand and spin moves and all of those? Why don't you do that too? Well, because Mahomes does that.
Right.
And he's the guy that does that. It's a gift. It is a skill. I'm looking at the other linebackers. Like this year, if you're looking at the leaders in tackles in the NFL, the top 18 of the top 19 are linebackers. Julian Love for the Giants, a safety who's in there as well. If you're looking at tackles in the NFL. None of them have more than one forced fumble. None of them have more than one forced fumble. You got to go down to Donovan Wilson, safety for the Cowboys, that has 2. When you start to go down the tackles, Devin White, Tampa, has 2. Derwin James has 2. That's a safety. So I looked at it and I'm like, okay, well, the linebackers It's one. Like the top tackling linebackers have one forced fumble. In fact, Foye Oluokun for the Jaguars leads the league in tackles. He's got 0. Jordan Brooks for Seattle. He's got 1. He's second in the league in tackles. Nick Bolton is third. He's got 1. Zaire Franklin for the Colts. He's got 1. Jordan Hicks for the Vikings. He's got 1. Those are the tops in tackles. And so I went back and looked last year, and I'm like, okay, well, Darius Leonard had 8. Well, what's the next linebacker in forced fumbles? Last year it was Isaiah Simmons with 4. Local guy with the Cardinals. He had 4. But that's half as many as Leonard has. And so I came up with the analogy of, saying that about Bolton or somebody else. It's like, or Bolton, like, hey, you've got all these tackles. Why don't you have forced fumbles? It's like, hey, Joe Burrow, you're putting up all these crazy numbers. Why don't you also flip and do a pirouette and then spin and then throw the ball underneath your legs like Patrick Mahomes does? Well, because that's what he does, and I can't just immediately do that. Because
Leonard is a tough draw for that comparison. Yeah. But from the jump, it's really all been, our conversation's really about the Chiefs creating more general turnovers. Yeah. And in that space, they are near the bottom of the league this year in terms of forcing turnovers altogether, not just the fumbles, but picks and any way that you're getting the ball back for your team. The Chiefs are lower on that list than you would expect with some of the defensive talent they have. But also, we've been having some conversations about, hey, what is the actual state of the defensive talent? A lot of those guys are really young. It continues to be a defense with, I think, multiple problems and way more potential answers to whatever those issues might be.
And I also probably should have looked, too, because I was just focusing and going back and looking individually. I'd wonder what the other teams in the NFL that have the number of sacks the Chiefs do that have forced fumbles. Like the Chiefs have 8 forced fumbles this year, yet they've got 42 sacks. Like, is that something that they just might have been unlucky? Because, by the way, Chris Jones should have an extra forced fumble and a fumble recovery and an extra sack. That penalty got called back. So, like, is there that – because I always associate sacks, quarterback pressures with turnovers. You get a negative play, quarterback fumbles the football, he throws while he's being hit, the ball flies up in the air, a la Sunday night when Jones hits Rippon and the ball flies up in the air, and L'Jarius Sneed, who, by the way, put him at punt return. I feel like he could be a punt returner now. I saw enough.
Not Sean McDuffie, though. He had that one go off his face.
That's a good point. That's a good. Maybe, you know what? He's talked about McDuffie that he's going to catch. I don't know. Maybe I'm a little nervous about now McDuffie.
That's what I'm saying.
But I would guess that if you've got as many sacks as the Chiefs, you probably have more forced fumbles as just simply by way of being there a number of times, and the eventual inevitability of quarterbacks that will fumble the football when they're hit as many times as the Chiefs have been back there with pressures and hits and actually sacking the quarterback with 17 of them in the previous 4 games.
It's funny looking
or
at
in the
league.
4 games outside of the Rams and the Titans. Sorry.
Looking at the league altogether on specifically the turnover differential. Now it's juiced with 3 picks from Mahomes against the Broncos, but they obviously got the ball back too. There are 14 teams in the league with positive point differentials. Makes sense, about average, because it's a differential number. They're going to have to split them here. The Eagles have the best turnover differential in football by a wide margin. They're plus 14. The Ravens are second at plus 9. The Chiefs are tied for the 4th worst turnover differential in the league. The Colts are minus 14. The Saints are minus 12. The Rams are minus 6. Not good football teams at the bottom there. And then the Chiefs, Texans, and Browns all have minus 5. Now, even if you took one of those away from Mahomes, the Chiefs are now tied at, or they're alone at minus 4. They wouldn't move any farther down the rankings. They're all tied there at 5 with some of those other teams that, again, are just not playing very good football right now. And that might be the one spot where the Chiefs have a real inefficiency with how they have played and how they could still play, because some of that's going to be randomness. Some of it is going to be your quarterback. Chiefs are good in that regard too. And some of it's going to be what your defense does to get the ball back more often. If this is a problem in the playoffs, it'll be part of the reason their season ends. If they end up playing into the month of February once again, they're probably going to have some plus turnover differential numbers from this point on the rest of the year, and certainly come playoff time. You need those kinds of things, because stealing a possession is one of the best ways to sort of tweak the balance of a game for you.
I can't find the number of just simply forced fumbles by teams. It's not coming up at Pro Football Reference. Maybe I'm just looking at the wrong spot, but
I had it a second ago, I think.
Got about 1,000 other things. But the teams that you just brought up there, the teams that lead the NFL in sacks. Number 1, Eagles. number 2 Cowboys, number 3 Patriots, number 4 Chiefs, then the Jets, then the Ravens. And a number of those you talked about turnover differential there. Now, part of the turnover differential for the Eagles is the fact that they are not turning the ball over on offense. Okay, so Jalen Hurts has 5 turnovers this year, 2 fumbles and 3 interceptions. Mahomes has 11. I have not looked as Miles Sanders and Kenneth Gainwell and A.J. Brown or Devontae Smith or whoever else, Goddard and whoever the new tight end is, if they've got fumbles this year that they have lost and what's that contributing to. But is in terms of just like causing turnovers, I mean the Eagles are number 1 in sacks, Cowboys number 2, Patriots number 3, and Chiefs number 4. I would guess that would be more of a correlation to the amount of takeaways that your team has.
The Chiefs are tied 6th to 10th. At least in the league in terms of forced fumbles.
Okay.
They're down there with the Saints, Steelers, Bucks, Panthers, Packers, Vikings, Commanders. Falcons have 5. The Chiefs then have 8 forced fumbles. That's not in counting all of the recoveries. The Chiefs have recovered 6 of. So
who's at the top?
The Cowboys with 18.
They're second in sacks.
And then the Seahawks with 17.
I'm not sure where they're in.
Giants with 16. So
Where
you get
the,
18, 17, 16 at the top, and then you drop all the way to 13 and 12 for the
Ravens are
Broncos
6th in
and Ravens.
sacks.
Yeah.
Eagles
Lions,
are there.
Jags, Chargers, Niners. Those teams are all close.
Okay.
But the Chiefs are definitely like a margin of error or 2,
I see.
Degrees away from even just like kind of average.
Mm-hmm.
Even if you get the Chris Jones one back, though, all of a sudden now it's they got 9 instead of 8, and these are the margins. This has been a conversation about the margins of football.
If McDuffie's helmet could catch.
If his face mask had a little hole in it that was about football size.
If he takes the visor off, that might stick right in between the the face mask and the bar and the helmet.
Darrell Williams Super Bowl catch attempt is how I remember it.
Yes. All right, we'll take a timeout. We'll come back. We'll continue rolling. We are hanging out at Mod Pizza in Lenexa, 8742 Lorette Boulevard. Grand opening is today. They got a big balloon outside with the grand opening. The Mod experience built around high-quality, personalized products. Every pizza and salad is made on demand, completely unique. The price always stays the same. Any toppings, one price. It is Mod Pizza, 8742 Lorette Boulevard. And they are also getting you registered to win free pizza for a year, 52 free pizza coupons. They will do the drawing tomorrow morning. So if you're in here today, stop in, get some fantastic food. Make sure you fill out and register to win that and get free pizza for a year, 52 free pizza coupons. And they'll do that drawing tomorrow morning. We'll take a timeout. We'll come back. We'll continue rolling, wrap up this hour. Mick Shaffer will be hanging out with us here at Mod Pizza at 1 o'clock. Shot clock reviews all still to come. More Zone next.
Follow the show on Twitter at J810Anderson, at JB Briscoe, at Beards McFly, and at Sports Radio 810. The Zone with Jason Anderson.
You might not be able to tell by the quality of the radio show, but I'm great.
Weekdays from 10 to 2 on Sports Radio 810 WHB.
Tex says, hope Mick Shaffer isn't there. His head would explode from all the numbers. It would, yeah. Yep, that makes sense.
Good news is one of the things that calms down Mick's allergic reaction to numbers is actually delicious pizza. So he will be here, and I think we're going to get him evened out.
By the way, a text came in while we were talking about Shaq Leonard. Said, say his name, Shaquille Leonard. So I replied, and I'm like, the only reason I'm saying Darius in addition is because I don't know how many people know that Darius Leonard changed his name to Shaquille Leonard.
Yeah, it would have come up more in the Chiefs week
had he played.
Had he been there for that.
That's right.
I saw Kenneth Walker III. Ken Walker now. Just going by Ken. Apparently that's been like this whole season, but I learned it like this week.
I've always called him Sky.
That's a different.
So fun story about Darius Shaquille Leonard. Fantasy football story.
Really?
You know, we have individual defensive players, and we were going through our auction, and I called out for Shaquille Leonard. Auction happens. I win Shaquille Leonard. Somebody speaks up and says, hold on. That's Darius Leonard. I'm like, no, he changed his name. I'm like, oh, I didn't know that. No, I want to bid on him. I'll bid $1 more. And they let him have it.
Oh, what?
Here's the thing. I was mad. Happy about it now. He hasn't played all year.
Good point.
Yeah.
Ball don't lie.
That's exactly right. Yeah, take your Shaquille Leonard, and I'll take my Foye Oluokun.
Whoa.
To the bank.
This SportsCenter is brought to you by Pajamagram. Ignite passion this holiday season with Spark of Romance pajamas. Head to pajamagram.com today and order Spark of Romance pajamas, and they'll even wrap it up for you with free gift packaging. The Chiefs have activated the 21-day practice window for wide receiver McCole Hardman, who still remains on IR. Chiefs head coach Andy Reid said they just see how it goes in the ramp-up process for Hardman, have not determined if he will play or not against the Texans this upcoming Sunday. Mick Shaffer of KSHB is here at Mod Pizza in Lenexa. He'll join us next in the zone of KSHB 41. And I can't really hear what's going on back at the station, so I'm hoping that this is approximately the end of this SportsCenter. Mick Shaffer next in the zone.
The Zone with Jason Anderson.
Hey, I'm Mick Shaffer. I was in the lake this weekend. I don't like fish. Hey, Mick.
So, not even like shrimp or anything?
No, I don't like shrimp and none of that.
Interesting. Like
I hate
scallops.
my family and fish.
Weekdays from 10 to 2 on Sports Radio 810 WHB.
Interesting. Very interesting. And at the same time, we've got headsets being passed around and tossed over because apparently Josh was like, I can't hear anything.
Yeah, it was weird because I wasn't really hearing myself or hearing the station.
Yeah.
But now I'm hearing everything. Well, hold on. Undo what you just did there, Pamela. Let's turn that back up. We're good. We're good there. Everything's okay now.
Okay, good.
It's just when I put on the headset to tell the world about all the great things that happen at SportsCenter and all the great things you can get at Pajamagram, none of the audio was the way that it was when I took the headset off. And I don't know what happened in that process, but what really matters is that is all the friends we made along the way.
That's exactly right. And Pajamagram, people know about that. That's the most important thing, really. I was wondering if you just simply did not have anything else to say or talk about because the amount of information you gave was very minimal, along with the fact that you allowed the music to play for what felt like Beard's, 20, 25 seconds?
It was about 10 or 15 seconds, but, I could see what was going on. I saw there were some issues, so we just rolled with it.
I had no idea. Mick Shaffer and I are talking. He's doing a SportsCenter. I didn't know that he couldn't hear. I'm not paying attention to him. I figure he's a grown man. He can do his own job.
You did reach over and start twirling knobs mid technical difficulties, and that made me nervous.
Well, I just turned my microphone off.
I think your side was clear. But look, whenever the focus of the day is delicious pizzas, everything else just kind of melts away to the wayside.
Good point. So,
until you hear the SportsCenter music playing, and then you realize, wait a second, why is the SportsCenter music so quiet? And can Beards hear me at all?
He heard you.
But he
I
did.
Heard you,
it sounded like everything on the speaker was great. So it's basically what it sounded like was the worst thing for me, but the best thing for everybody else, which is the headset was not working.
Also, Josh, I'll let you know, Josh, you timed out mostly okay.
I had way more of the script written, but I started late because
That's fine. You did a good job.
It's 15
Thank you,
seconds
Beards.
of music.
Hey,
That's
you know
not
what
good.
You know what I didn't say? That the Pittsburgh Steelers won the first overall pick in the MLB draft.
You did not say that.
I don't think I've ever had two good SportsCenters in a row. Because as soon as I have
in a row,
terrible
really,
one,
I think you can take off that
no,
qualifier.
No. I disagree. I really feel like you don't notice when it goes well, which is how it should actually be. You want to be in the middle, Mick? You want to be in a Josh and Jason sandwich, or do you want to be just on my side?
It would be a mix sandwich. It would be a mix sandwich.
Can you order a mix sandwich at Mod? All right, Mick doesn't. Here you go, Mick. There you go. You can be the Mick griddle.
Do they have Mick nipples here?
They have Mick. Well, we got it. We got two.
Okay. I didn't know. You know what you could have done, Josh? And then we'll get into some actual sports. What you could have done is like when you see a singer that is performing and something's going on with their earpiece and they just take it out.
Yeah.
And they just simply – you could have done that and listened to the speaker while holding the microphone to your mouth, but listening to the speaker music you could have done.
As soon as I realized that the speaker was apparently working, it would have been a good time to just get the Bob Barker mic situation or whatever.
Right.
But
could have been like Britney Spears.
Yeah,
you know?
I Janet Jackson Super Bowl kind of thing.
Todd,
Mick walked in and I was like, maybe I should
Todd Graham, former college coach for Arizona State.
Arizona State.
He had the Britney Spears headset.
He had the little headset mic.
You got to look up pictures of Todd Graham on the sideline. He's got the small little Britney Spears microphone, not these big headsets that coaches wear. No, he had the small little Britney Spears.
We got to really scoot together here, my friends.
Come on, it's got to show a sideline.
We need to be able to mix sweater on the stream.
Oh,
yeah, we do need some mixed sweater action. Yeah, this is nice. He looks like he's
got the
The like flesh tone one really adds to the pop star sort of
it's unbelievable.
aesthetic.
It's unbelievable. I can't believe you guys didn't realize that Todd Graham was.
My wife just blended in so well, you know. I mean,
look at that.
My wife wears those. A couple years she's had hearing impaired students to where she has to wear those, and they call her Madonna whenever she
That's
does.
Fun.
Looks like Todd Graham. I'm surprised it didn't work out for him. 913-912-4810 is the text line. 913-912-4810, the text line. Mick, that is a good-looking sweater, man.
Thank you. I just came from my company holiday party at KSHB 41, where we had full lunch, so I am starved for second lunch here.
So what was the?
I just
So
ordered a Mad Dog.
I had the Mad Dog too.
It looked terrific. I mean, just pile it up with the pepperoni and the ground beef, the sausage, all that stuff. I'm on sensory overload here. We walk in and they just yell at you, hey, hello.
Hello. They're all wearing pirate shirts. It was odd. Hello.
I didn't know this was day one here.
Day one.
They had a ribbon cutting and everything.
Look at that.
They let us hold the big
They have
scissors.
like gold shovels out there. I guess they've already dug the ground.
The groundbreaking has taken place because we're here. But they had the ribbon cutting with the real big scissors. We got to hold the big scissors, and we took a picture with the big scissors.
Look at us.
Oh, wow.
Some big scissors.
Did you know that's what they use to cut the pizza?
That's going to make that joke. That's what we would have used at the Shaffer house.
It was that big.
It was that big of scissors. Yeah.
Do you still have the ones that were gifted that I believe they have the
We
little
use them.
runway underneath
yes,
it, right?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Yes, we have those. A lot of times those have been just our regular scissors when we can't find just normal scissors to cut paper or whatever. My daughter's doing a project, and she gets a little pizza sauce on the crate paper because, sorry, last night we had Tony's.
Were you using the shears? Is that chicken grease on there?
Yeah.
I don't think that's sanitary, son. I'm not sure. We have the three different sizes of scissors in the house. We have the small size for the 3-year-old. We got the 7-year-old scissors. We got our scissors. And then those scissors are clearly for your grandparents.
Yeah.
Just as you get bigger and older, those scissors grow in size.
Like the phone numbers, the buttons and all that stuff.
Makes it easier for them to see what it is that they're cutting.
That's a great point.
You know, where are the scissors at?
It would
They're
really-
right there
right there.
on the kitchen table. It is the entire kitchen table. Is those pair of scissors.
It would really add a sort of sense of dread to like the naughty list from Grandma now, because now it's not just a matter of like what are the presents going to be. It's do you want to anger your grandma holding the biggest scissors that anyone's ever seen in their life?
Well, you don't want her to just walk around, wrap up different things around the house, gives them out as gifts. You know, can't wait to see what I got. We are at Mod Pizza.
Be the cat.
Wrapped up her damn cat.
Mod movie. That makes sense. Yeah, I could smell it.
Mod Pizza in Lenexa, where you can smell the pizza. It is awesome. 8742 Lorette Boulevard in Lenexa. Grand opening today. Doors opened at noon. The big balloon outside of grand opening. You see the 810 banners on the windows. They are also going to have a drawing for a free pizza for a year. 52 free pizza coupons for a year. That drawing is tomorrow morning, so you've got today to come
what
here.
if I want to eat it every day?
You can.
I
Yeah, absolutely.
65 pizzas?
You can eat 52 pizzas every day if you want to for one day. And here is your pizza, sir.
This is the
Mad
best
Dog.
day.
Thank you so much.
I had the Mad Dog as well.
Appreciate it. This is pretty great.
It's really good. I think you're gonna like it. I
Yeah,
hate to predict
absolutely.
before you get to bite in.
From the time you ordered to now, that's like less than 8 minutes.
This is really, really quick.
Good for you.
Yeah, they say you can order and get the pizza ideally in about 8 minutes. It only bakes for 4 minutes. Think about that.
That's amazing.
Think about how good of a setup that is.
Oh, I can't wait. It's hot right now.
It even says on the receipt name TV's Mick Shaffer.
It just says Mick.
Wow. How about
says
that?
Mick.
Why did it?
They wrote Nick Bolton's jersey number on there.
They did. Yes.
Why was it served with an Emmy?
I can't not win these things.
Going a little too far.
What was the name of this one that you guys both ordered?
Mad Dog.
The Mad Dog.
was my
if you order the
nickname in high school.
If you order the Mick Dog, actually, it's just a Mad Dog with an Emmy in the middle of it.
You know what they should have? They should have a special shot of Mad Dog 2020 for everybody that orders the Mad Dog.
Agreed.
Just I wouldn't drink it, but you can have it for free if you do order the Mad Dog.
I think though, and I was pressed for time because I was almost late here, and I wanted to come back and be on the radio with you guys.
Oh, thanks.
But I think I would do the whole. I'm just gonna or what's it called?
Yeah,
a la carte.
I was going to get avant-garde with it. Yeah.
Avant-garde with my a la carte.
Yeah.
And then just get all types of toppings on there.
I'll take the Ave Maria.
Yes.
It's just the Ave. It's something. It's got to be something.
You can also order the Mad Dog by just going up and just yelling the last name, Havlicek, and then they'll figure it. I go, oh, Mad Dog, that's
or
for you.
Russo.
Yeah.
Russo,
Mad Dog.
Yeah. All right, 913-912-4810.
That's what I was doing. I was doing a Mad Dog thing.
Yes. Good afternoon, everybody. That's the Mad Dog. 913-912-4810. We got Shot Clock reviews coming up in the second segment. Mick Shaffer hanging out with us as Andy Reid, Patrick Mahomes, Justin Reid had their press conferences a little bit earlier today. The news from that, Mecole Hardman's window has been opened up, so they have activated his 21-day window to return from IR. It does not sound like he will be playing this week. Andy Reid said that they will ease him back in and see how it goes. Said that he lost a lot of weight. He still has to put that weight on. He's done a really good job working hard and doing that. But I would imagine that not only putting on the weight but being in football game shape might take a little bit. So next week is when I would expect at the earliest to see Mecole Hardman. We'll see. And then Kadarius Toney didn't sound like it was a guarantee he's definitely playing. It was, well, yeah, we ramped him up last week, and we'll see how he does this week and then make a decision. I was told that thing just, quote, tightened up on him.
Yeah.
In the game. That's what I was told. It was sort of precautionary, left the game because it tightened up on him.
Where's your guys' Kadarius Toney worry meter at this point? Because for 2 weeks it was everyone was like, oh, that was already worth the trade, and now it's like, oh, I wonder if we're going to see him play football ever again.
It's almost like what happened in New York is happening in Kansas City, and the Giants weren't necessarily the bad guy every step of the way there.
My buddy, who is a Giants fan, who when they traded for him, I immediately started texting and talking to, and that's when he said he'll keep your trainers working. Is one of the things that he said. They'll be busy. Every Sunday that the inactives come out and he is one of them, he sends me along LOL like 8 LOL, and I'm like, yeah, I know. He sent me another one on Sunday, and I'm like, I kind of feel like this was a precautionary that if it was like the Bengals, he would play, but it's the Broncos. Do they need him? And then if he doesn't play this week, then that's obviously not the case. That it wasn't just the Broncos. That he's missed 3 games and played 2 since he was traded for. And in one of those games, he only played 12 snaps. So it's not like he's playing the full, Justin Watson 60 snaps in a game. Yeah. Or anything like that.
You just can't expect a little no-name guy like Kadarius Toney to immediately jump into the offense and produce like someone like Justin Watson. I mean, a bona fide superstar. You've got to tamper your expectations.
Well, he was 1 target away from matching what Justin Watson's production was against the Broncos.
Targets, but not snaps, because only one receiver on that team outsnapped Justin Watson.
Yeah, but the 3 of us and Justin Watson combined for 1 target.
1 total target
in the game. We also all combined for 0 receptions and yards, but he had good blocks. He was blocking pretty good too. So, look, I like Justin Watson. It's just somebody needed to fill the role of Demarcus Robinson, play every snap, and don't see the football.
Passes.
Yeah, I mean, somebody had to fill that role. But I do think that also highlights, we tongue-in-cheek here, it does highlight what Mecole Hardman and Kadarius Toney could mean for this offense, that you probably need somebody else to rely upon besides Kelsey. And then Juju Smith-Schuster, when healthy, has been that guy, as Andy Reid said, somebody to, what do you say, counter?
Yep, to counter Travis Kelce.
Kelce.
I thought that phrasing was interesting.
I don't think they need them. We talked about this last week. I mean, he threw 3 touchdown passes without those guys.
But imagine if Mecole Hardman were there to run in front of the pass that was going to Jewel. He's so fast he'll run in front of it and catch it.
That would happen. I feel like our excuses for those two, we can use the next 5 weeks, because the last week it was like, you don't need to rush him back for the Broncos.
Yeah.
This week, you don't need to rush him back for the Texans.
Who needs him for the Texans?
Really don't need to rush him back for the Seahawks at home, right? If you're a contender.
Christmas
right?
Eve,
And then
they
you've got,
things they wanna do,
the Raiders, you don't need to rush him back for that team.
They're
Broncos again.
Yeah, they're eliminated.
And then maybe they'll play a
big deal.
First round playoff game against the Titans. I mean, come on, you should be fine.
Malik Willis is now playing.
Yes.
Tannehill's out. Do you really need to rush him back for that?
Okay, sure. Now it's the rematch with the Bengals, but I mean, you were really close last time without those guys. I mean, I would just rest them up.
Really put most of it on the defense.
Yeah, exactly.
You need them against Buffalo.
Right.
That's what you're waiting for.
Look at this.
Buffalo lost? No. Okay, well, maybe just
the Eagles.
Shut them down till 2023.
Yeah.
I think in like week 8, you're going to play a really good team.
Yes.
Bring them back for that.
Yes.
You need them for the Eagles game. You need these guys. You can't have them injured for the Eagles game. You need them back and ready to go for February, whatever the date is in the Super Bowl.
Guys, is Kadarius Toney a starting pitcher? It's like every 5 games, and you're going to get like the first 7 innings,
right.
And then you got to pull him. And then in 5 more games, he'll be back again.
Well, Royals fans would tell you if he cost more than $3 million, he would not be on the Royals.
And he's not exactly an innings eater, from what I can tell. I mean, he's throwing gas at 104 miles an hour for about 5 innings.
Don't they already have Mondesi? I mean, do they really need Kadarius Toney there?
Honestly, the Royals might have more use for Mondesi. Or the Chiefs might have more use for Mondesi.
Adalberto Tony.
There you go. Adalbert Tony.
Adalbert Tony is good. I'm not willing to give that the final word yet. I'll think about it. You guys do the radio show.
Adalbert Tony.
In quiet thought.
No, there's
Mondarius.
Mondarius Tony. I mean, you right
keep
now.
Thinking of like the second place.
Adalbert Tony is good.
You're not beating it.
I feel like if you went up to the front here and you order the Adalbert Tony, my pizza was called the Calexico. I feel like if you go order the Adalbert Tony, like that should be something. I don't know what yet, but maybe Mod just creates a pizza for us. Maybe it's the zone pizza.
Yeah,
it's just all of the.
Well, they give you like only 3 slices because they only play like 3/8 of the time.
It's all of their least favorite toppings on like 3 slices of pizza, and the rest of it they just throw away.
But a lot of potentials there. So you get one with like loaded with pepperoni and the mozzarella, and a lot of potential at that one slice.
It's like jazz. It's about the pizza slices you don't eat.
It's full price. You get 3 pieces, and then where the other pieces would be, you get a picture of what it would look like.
Yeah.
What it could look like. It could be this. Could be this. This is how cool it could be. But this is really all you're getting. You're actually paying for what it could be, though. That's what. There you go. So that's the Adalbert Tony pizza at Mod Pizza. I don't know why you would pay for that. It doesn't make sense.
I mean,
to do that.
Should we just be giving these guys ideas like this?
That's what I'm thinking. Is we've given Mod great ideas, and we've warned the Chiefs and Royals about some real mistakes they might be making.
We are just solving the world's issues, like downtown baseball. I mean, we are going through all of the points that are really permeating around the entire city. Also permeating too. I'm not sure what that means, but permeating and permeating, whatever and getting permed.
I can request the Royals the next time they have an announcement or some sort of meeting, give me a place and a date. Some sort of place and a date. I don't know, whatever. Like that's all anybody wanted last night when you get place or date.
Yeah. You know, like the town hall question, the listening tour or whatever.
I think it's cool. I don't know if it's PR or what. Just like, hey, we listened. We talked to you guys. I didn't like the name of it, the public community meeting. I'm like, why? That's redundant. Public and community. It's like the same thing. Just call it the public meeting or the community meeting. But it's fine. I liked how John Sherman kind of broke the news of Yarbrough getting signed.
Yeah. Don't they kind of have their location though? Around like Charlotte and Holmes and Cherry around their east side of the loop. No, they haven't said that, but I kind of feel like that's been. They said they have 14 locations, but I kind of feel like it's.
Yeah, I thought it was 18 or something like that, or maybe that's how many they looked into.
Right. It's like Clark Hunt had 14 different coaches he wanted to hire after he fired Romeo. He just happened to land on Andy Reid. But there were 14 coaches that I'm really examining here. I think they can have 14 different sites. Kind of feel like there's a leader in the clubhouse. We'll see if it ends up being that. But that, from the beginning, was kind of, hey, this is probably where they're going to go. And we'll see. I said at the beginning of the show, Mick, that, I like the, having the town hall type deal. They talked about transparency. You can say it. You also have to be transparent as well and do it. There are different levels of transparency. So by coming out and saying that, a major part of private capital will be for the new stadium. The district will be all private capital. I don't know what major part is. Can you itemize the fact that you believe it will be more expensive to renovate Kauffman than build a new stadium? Like, is that just saying, it'll be more expensive? We're being transparent. That's why we want to build downtown. It's to be more expensive. They talked about, you've got to redo the entire lower bowl and the foundation of that. The fountains are leaking. The overhang, the tar, all that stuff has to be done, redone. And so it'd be almost $1 billion or a little more than $1 billion to renovate for the next 50 years. So there are certain things that they offered yesterday that I think that's all they can offer right now. And then as the days progress, then they will have to get more and more specific in this.
Man, I'm fine if it costs more to move it downtown because you're going to get a lot more bang for your buck than you would be renovating that thing, for the second time in 20 years or whatever. What was it,
16?
10?
I mean, it was 2006, so 2006 is when the vote went through.
I feel like it took a few years for the construction to finally get finished. I want to say like 09 or 10. But
when was the new
not that long
scoreboard done?
ago.
That's kind of what I think of as like I don't even know if that's
part of that,
right.
I think.
But I think of that as being like when it was done.
Yeah, I think when it was done, it was the largest one in the world, and like 6 minutes later, Texas football was overtook it, and then it's been overtaken like 20 times since.
Yeah. So, I mean, you renovate now again, and they had talked about it, and a text came in and said that they had remembered back in the day that Toby Cook was, doing different media interviews and saying, if we renovate now, we aren't far away from having to renovate again. That it's going to be that we will then have to have and we're not talking about 50 years from now that it will have to be renovated again. It will be maybe 16 years, 17, 18 years that it'll have to be renovated with a lot of money to be able to do that, because they had talked about some of the structural issues that may have been taking place in the concrete, as they said, concrete cancer there at Kauffman Stadium. I hadn't heard of that before, but they're talking about the water leakage and the flooding and all the different things that are taking place there. So, look, I am for downtown baseball. I've been for downtown baseball. I think it makes more sense economically. I think it makes more sense for the ball club. I think it makes more sense from an entertainment standpoint, and more people being at the game. They then have to match that with affordable tickets so people can go to the game. They have to match that with wins on the field in putting a club in place that's going to be successful, and not just say, oh, thanks for the ballpark, we're going to sell all our players like Miami did. Who was the Marlins owner that promised
Jeffrey Loria, and David Sampson, the president at that time, got a lot of the heat.
So they said they're going to do all these things with the baseball team, and they had all these young guys, and it was going to be this. They built a new stadium, and then he traded them all and sold them, and then he sold the team for like a $2 billion profit from like the year before because of the new stadium. I don't think John Sherman is going to do that, but they are going to have to put their literal money where their mouth. Well, they shouldn't literally put their money where their mouth is, but they should put their money where their mouth is.
Kiss your money, and then do what you said you're going to do with
Figurative money where their mouth is. It would be. It's disgusting. A lot of bacteria.
Safe,
Not at all.
That's why I launder all of my money.
That's right.
I throw it in the washing machine and try to keep it clean.
To invest back into the into payroll, and that also includes keeping some of the younger players. So if you're going to the city or the residents in August of 2023,
Ryan O'Hearn's going to be there.
He will be leading the charge. Or if somebody can't make it, he'll pinch hit for him. He'll step right up and probably be pretty good. But Bobby Witt, MJ Melendez, Vinny Pasquantino, do they go down the route this summer of approaching those guys and starting negotiations, or even getting something done as in almost like a good faith effort, like this is what we're going to be doing moving forward? We're not going to go and spend on DeGrom because we're not DeGrom away from winning the division. We are DeGrom and Judge and Scherzer and some others away from winning the division. It's Bobby Witt being long-term, Vinny Pasquantino continuing to succeed, MJ Melendez continuing to succeed. If Salvador Perez can, beat Father Time, or if you get something back in a trade for Salvador Perez, it's Singer and Lynch and those guys progressing, developing, and then being good enough that you sign them long-term and then supplement free agent here or there. The Braves have spent a lot of money on their homegrown talent, and then they went and spent a lot of money on Matt Olson when Freddie Freeman wasn't going to sign with them.
One of the sound bites from last night from John Sherman was he was emphatic. We are spending this off season to do nothing but get better for 2023, which should be, I would think, the goal every off season. But I think there's something more behind that, to where there are going to be, we say it all the time, more transactional and go out and get guys, and right away they get Yarbrough. I'm sure that's not going to be the only guy. I can't figure out if he's going to be a starter or a reliever. I don't know.
Yes.
They do so many weird things with Tampa down there.
His position is just innings.
Everybody at the station last night, they're like, so wait a second, he had 16 wins one year, but only like 3 starts? I'm like, yes, it's Tampa. It's Tampa. That's how they do it.
Here's what I know about Yarbrough. He doesn't walk many people.
Doesn't strike out guys, but don't want guys.
Doesn't put him on base. No free passes with him. I like it. We'll see if he's healthy. I don't know. Did maybe they agree to this like 2 weeks ago, and they're like, wait to the town hall to announce it. Yeah. We got to let this big reveal of Ryan Yarbrough.
We're going to win the city back.
Ryan Yarbrough. Congratulations. Don't judge us on what has been done.
God, can you imagine if John Sherman was like to that?
We've had these community meetings, and we've come away with Royals fans want soft-throwing left-handers.
Yeah.
So
I've been running errands, and that reveals our big free agent signing. Gotcha. It's Ryan Yarbrough. Here he is, everybody. Ryan Yarbrough.
Has this team been disappointing so far in my tenure as owner? Sure. It has been. The renovations, by the way, so 2006 is when it was approved through the vote. 2007 was the groundbreaking. It was all to be completed in time for opening day 2009, and the full renovation, which also included the Arrowhead renovations, was by 2010. So and that extended the lease from 2015 through 2030.
Yeah. And so the earliest this thing could be on the ballot is 2023, but there's a whole lot left to be decided until then. And there's also the community benefits agreement, which they discussed yesterday, which is going to have to be much more in detail rather than just we are committed to this community benefits and getting in this agreement because, I mean, they can't present anything last night, as they said, in that those agreements are going to be with city leaders and residents and those that lead the organizations. We are not going to tell you what the city benefits agreement is going to be. We are going to listen in a collaborative effort, and hopefully that's the case. Hopefully they are actually going to be open-minded and say, okay, this is what those that live there, around there, benefit, won't benefit. City organizers believe this is what would be best served with the Royals organization giving back and entering in this agreement, which is sort of standard in some of these, that there's a community benefits agreement. Hey, there's a tax break, here's this, here's that. Here's what we're also going to be doing. And there is the element of, and the worry of gentrification that Adam Sachs said last night. He said to the tune of, we will be protecting against that. I'm not sure how that happens, but that's where the transparency comes in. It's one thing to say that, but then how are you then going to build a brand new ballpark downtown and then not have rent and house raised, everything around that?
And that is already a very current existing problem in Kansas City right now.
Absolutely. So it's one thing to say, no, we'll be protecting against that. Okay, we'll find out what that means.
Yep.
And if it's just lip service, well, then that will be part of the deal and part of the yes or no vote.
Right.
That will be out there. So we'll find out. I have a different view of the Royals this next season than some do. I guess it's from more of a patient standpoint, and I am not making an excuse for the Royals, nor making an excuse that they should be in the position they are, because they are far removed from winning a World Series. But looking at the reality of the situation, I do think they're more than just a couple of free agents away from getting this thing done. Yeah. But if we see Bobby Witt turn into progress, if MJ Melendez can catch a baseball from time to time, if, other guys, and you're starting to see them approach 500, this time next year, then it will be, all right, rubber hit the road. Let's go. Let's do it. But you also have to see that this year, because if not, you're setting yourself back more and more that these aren't the group of guys that can help you get there. That's the other huge element of, do they even have the right guys in place to help you get there that you would supplement with, instead of saying, well, you got to go get Scherzer, you got to go get DeGrom, you got to go get Seager, you have to go and pay for Aaron Judge, or you're just going to keep losing 100 games.
Yeah. So your view isn't pie in the sky for this year? I thought that's where you were going. You think they're going to be really good?
No, I don't think they're going to be really good.
I think a lot of people think that.
I think people are
different.
I think people are
the same as.
No, I think people are.
I need somebody to tell me that in high school. I need somebody to budge. I don't think you're that different.
Yeah. No, I think people are frustrated that they haven't done anything. That's sort of my point, is that they haven't made any big transactions. They haven't signed anybody. There's a lot of frustration from that they signed O'Hearn and Mondesi and Yarborough. So I get that. I understand it. But I don't think they were ever going to be in the business at the beginning of the market ballooning to the fact that now Zach Greinke may not re-sign in Kansas City because the market has gone up to a degree to where Greinke's like, let's hold off. Let's wait a little bit. Let's see where this market thing goes, and maybe I will return to Kansas City, maybe not. So I don't know that you jump right out and outbid everybody else. Soren's talked about, Gil Mesh, that it was like, you gave him an extra year and more per year to sign Gil Mesh, like you were almost like negotiating against yourself to a degree. Also because he's like, do I want to go to Kansas City and be a part of what's going on there? So you had to pay more. But that's what happened when you jump out in the beginning and say, we're going to pay all this money.
It was so bad that Gil Mesh felt bad and ended up giving them back like the last year of his deal, right?
Yeah.
Yep, absolutely.
One of the crazy, rare, ridiculous.
I don't need 12 more million or whatever it was.
I feel bad about that, though. You can have it. You guys keep that. So we'll see. And I know that I had a text earlier, and I can try to find it, but I mean it was essentially asking me why. Oh, here it is. Jason, are you tired of being a Royal mouthpiece? Says, I understand your passion for downtown ballpark, but tired of Royals not investing in their own team. All sports teams are a monopoly, so their income stream should be based on performance. Better team equals more revenue. In theory, the cry small market team is their biggest excuse for their lack of revenue reminds me of always yelling wolf. I tune out after hearing it so often. Well, they're not going to grow in market size, and so that they're always going to be a small market team. They are the only small market team to win a World Series.
Well, think about the Rays. The Rays have been good for the last decade, and they still have their own payroll problems and attendance problems.
Mm-hmm.
So I just don't think that's really. I mean, the idea of it being a meritocracy in there of play better, get more money, get better players, that's wonderful. But I don't think baseball's given us any evidence that's actually how it works.
Well, I mean, would they still be considered a small market team if they just pumped $100 more million into the payroll?
Yeah, I think they'd still be looked at. They're a small market team. It's just how are you creating that revenue to be able to do that?
Because I always consider a small market of how much is your revenue or how much is your payroll.
It's more of like your local TV deal. Like how much money are you making from your local TV deal? Also, like I'm pretty sure that. Am I tired of being a Royal mouthpiece? I don't know. I'm usually
if you're a mouthpiece for him. You should get paid.
I know. I'm
better
usually
than to be a peasant mouthpiece.
Yes.
Though. I mean,
I'm usually more positive when it comes to the Royals and just what they can do, but I don't know that I've been a mouthpiece.
I don't think it's necessarily if you're campaigning for downtown baseball. I don't think you're necessarily campaigning
for the city.
Royals mouthpiece. As Ryan Lefevre said last night, and again we'll find out if this is true. He said this is a much better deal for Kansas City than it is for the Royals.
I'm a fan of the city. I wasn't campaigning for Arrowhead to get World Cup.
Yeah. In fact, if I'm going to go to a Royals game, I want some cool stuff around it. I'm campaigning for me.
Yes.
And
I'm my own mouthpiece.
And yes, I want some players. And as I said, that if they get the district built and you start seeing what the revenue is coming into the Royals organization, and they are not doing what John Sherman said last night, that whatever revenue they create and generate from the ballpark or district, whatever they're going to call it, is going to go into payroll. If that's not happening, well, then yes, you will hear a lot of people asking what the heck's going on and what the city was doing and what you promised, and that's not happening. It's happening in other cities with their extra sort of ballpark districts, entertainment districts around their stadium, that they invest more into their team. The Royals have to do that, and I would like to see them invest more money. I just don't think going out and signing Jacob deGrom would be the smartest investment right now, because I don't think they're Jacob deGrom away from winning a pennant.
Speaking of mouthpiece, if you want a piece for your mouth, we're here at Mod Pizza in Lenexa, where the best pieces for your mouth are sitting in front of Mick Shaffer right now.
You're one of the best.
Thanks, man. I appreciate that.
Just like Mod Pizza. More Zone next.
Want to see more of The Zone? Watch the show live on the Sports Radio 810 WHB Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, and Twitch. The Zone with Jason Anderson.
There's one other piece of audio from today that I think is really interesting, but honestly, we went super long in the first segment, and I want to spend a second unpacking this. Is it too early to take a break here, Beards? Or
No, never too early.
On Sports Radio 810 WHB.
All right, hanging out at Mod Pizza in Lenexa, 8742 Lorette Boulevard. It is the grand opening. Opened at noon, so brand new location is where we are at today. Mod experience is awesome. Every pizza or salad made on demand, completely unique. The price always stays the same. Any toppings, one price. They're giving away 52 free pizza coupons, so free pizza for a year. Just sign up if you're down here, and they'll do that drawing tomorrow morning. That is at Mod Pizza. All right, so let's get well, Mick, you want to say something before Shot Clock reviews?
Get the spicy pizza sauce.
Okay.
Yep.
All right.
It's so good.
It's
All
good
right.
advice.
So good.
Should have done it.
I did not go with the spicy. They asked, do you
I
want
got
the regular
little bit of
spicy?
snot running out my nose. I want to get spicy. I love it.
Yeah.
Is your shirt here?
Sure. Yeah, that's that Emmy juice they call it, just leaking out of Mick's nose.
I said first time around, let me just get the regular. Next time I come here with the wife and the kids, I'll get the spicy.
Why are you so scared all the time?
Jump
right in, okay?
I'm risk averse.
You are.
I didn't want to be sniffing the entire time. The cocaine already makes me do that. Now all of a sudden, you throw in the spicy stuff.
That is not on the menu here, by the way. Just make that clear.
I don't do that. I just like the smell.
Can't wait to hear what your Shot Clock review is.
My first times riding the slopes.
You know what? I want to review not sleeping for 3 days. That's what I want to review. So the spicy sauce Mick has suggested.
Fantastic.
Okay. Should we do Shot Clock
Let's
reviews?
do some Shot Clock reviews. Fast break mode, everybody. Who wants to start? Sounds great. So Renee and I finished watching Wednesday on Netflix. Here's my review.
So you should have finished it today.
Yeah, we did. Technically, it might have been after midnight. Wednesday on Netflix. It's the Tim Burton show based off Wednesday Addams from the Addams Family. The actress who plays her is excellent. A lot of the characters, a lot of the young actors in it are very, very good. I think the show does an excellent job of setting up the whole vibe and the world of it all over the first few episodes. No spoilers. But I don't necessarily love how they stuck the landing. Worth it if you're kind of intrigued by the overall vibe. Maybe not the greatest detective show of all time. I still give it a nice 6.5 out of 10.
On those notes,
Mick,
those notes, though, I'm going to jump in because I've got a follow-up to Wednesday here.
There we go.
Thursday?
So I did not see I did not see the first half of the episodes. My wife was watching it, but I got the second half of the season. Wednesday. Should not go into police work. She's a bad detective, let me tell you. She just gets half the evidence and just throws accusations around willy-nilly. I think she accused about 4 or 5 different people.
Yes, she totally did.
Mick's seen it.
Not a good detective. I would give her skills a 3 out of 10. She did solve it, but it was not well executed.
Way too reactionary, way too emotional.
Now we can let Mick go. There you go, Mick.
Pamela is defending Wednesday's police
It's
work.
good. My daughter was watching it, and then I started watching it after the season. I'm like, well, this is pretty murdery, isn't it?
Yeah. You guys both,
My
you
11-year-old
both missed the best
smiles.
part,
Yes,
is
it
what
is.
I would say. You missed the best part being the first few episodes, I think.
Okay. I like the great cast. What's the dad's name? He's such a great character actor. I can't remember it right now.
Yeah, me neither.
Mr. Adams?
Gomez, yes.
Thank you, Pamela. Beards, who goes next, Mick or Jason?
Mick.
Okay, I'd like to review my experience watching Russell Wilson get injured at Invesco Field at Sports Authority Stadium and Academy Sports Mile High or whatever. I was there. I was in the stands. We were actually in the kind of adult drinking area at the time. I haven't started yet.
Where's the kids drinking area?
Well, that's everywhere. Every day's kids' day.
All right.
So I'm going to
reset the play clock and
go.
Inbounds.
Okay, so he gets hurt. And immediately, high fives are being exchanged all over the place.
No way.
I mean, you've seen him play this year, right?
Where was Eric Winston when you needed him?
That's despicable.
Yes,
That's
it was.
disgusting.
It was. But I did get a free drink brought for me because of it. Because one guy was like, I'm next round. They were so excited that Russell Wilson got hurt.
Wow, that is legitimately kind of
And that
wild.
probably wasn't every Broncos fan.
No, but
just
enough of them
I
to get
imagine
dirtbags I was around.
I imagine it being every one of them.
Hey, Mick, what's your review out of 10 of that experience?
Yeah. Not of Russ getting hurt, but of your experience there.
3. It's his number.
It's his number.
Yeah,
That's
it's
a
gotta
beautiful
be the 3.
tribute.
Yeah.
Jason, what you got for us? Close us.
All right, my review is that, Yellowstone Season 5 hasn't even finished yet, and it is awful. It is just a terrible season right now. And the most recent episode, they have taken what has been a show of like the family, the fighting, people getting killed and all of that, and they've turned it into a season of just, here's a scene of a mountain. Oh, here's a meadow. Oh, look, they're just laying out like a good cowboy does underneath the stars with their head on their saddle. This entire episode 6, I got an offensive rebound. Episode 6 of them doing their branding was just an entire PR episode of go hang out in Montana because it's very nice. It was an absolute waste, and I'm about to eject on this season because it has been a nothing burger. It's a 1 out of 10.
It sounds like it's just an ad for Yellowstone, parentheses, National Park.
Dude, it's...
Beth Dutton
is the worst character ever.
Right, is not the worst character ever, because that's a lot of things, and there's a lot of bad guys written in.
True.
She's the worst character ever you're supposed to cheer for. I'm like, why is she
exactly?
a good guy?
And the whole PR campaign for Beth Dutton trying to improve her image this season. No, thank you. She's a terrible character. She's one of the least.
Yeah,
she is the
it.
least likable character in a show that I can
Should
remember.
be.
I cannot stand her.
But like
There's
my
no
wife's
redeeming
got a shirt
qualities.
that says Beth Dutton style or Beth Dutton state of mind is what it says.
that,
And she's so popular. I
Drunk?
don't get it. I am a Jamie fan. Jamie's the best guy on there. Everybody hates Jamie. Love Jamie.
Which one's Harrison Ford?
He's in 1923.
That
It was
earlier or
1883. And then they have characters that were in 1883. They're also in Yellowstone.
Did you guys see the trailer for 1899?
Not characters, but the actors.
That looks interesting. It's on Netflix. Just another show that's your name.
1991.
Anybody see the trailer for 65?
No, Beards. I was too busy watching the trailer for 3-2.
Let's play some trailers in the break here. We'll come back and continue hanging out at Mod Pizza next.
Take the show with you by listening live on 810WHB.com, in the 810 mobile app, or by subscribing to The Zone wherever you get your podcasts. The Zone with Jason Anderson.
Have you done it? What'd you do last night in Vegas?
I was in Kansas City last night.
Cool. Weekdays from 10 to 2 on Sports Radio 810 WHB.
All right, Mott Pizza, our location today, Lenexa. Brand new location, brand new spot. Opened up today, grand opening here in Lenexa, 8742 Lorette Boulevard. They got the big balloon out front, the grand opening, 810 banners on the windows. And you can stop in and experience the high-quality experience. Personalized products delivered super fast. Every pizza or salad made on demand, completely unique. The price always stays the same. Any toppings, one price.
Play a little Easter egg hunt when you get here if you want to look for our names on a sticker somewhere.
Well, right now they're on the table in front of us.
Right now, if you got here, it would be pretty easy. But just all the fun in the world you could ask for and great pizza here at Mott.
Is that what it is? Looking for the stickers.
All
for
the fun in the world.
Jason, Josh, and Mick.
I mean, imagine getting a selfie next to a sticker that we've written on. I can't think of a higher honor. I'm thinking about just taking yours home with me.
Yeah,
Mick says TV's Mick Shaffer, radio's Mick Shaffer. He got both to sign them.
Choose which side, whatever.
Yeah. This is Mick's Jekyll and Hyde.
Choose your own adventure.
TV Mick is like wearing makeup and a tie and everything, and Radio Mick is eating pizza on air in a Christmas sweater, just trying to hold it all together.
A gorilla
with right here.
A gorilla with a two-piece.
That's not a gorilla,
Sorry.
Mick.
What is wrong
Sorry,
with you?
I apologize. Bigfoot.
It's
I
a
believe
Bigfoot.
Santa and sexy Bigfoot.
Sasquatch with
Sexy big feet.
Sasquatch with a two-piece.
Mick, I didn't know you were a Bigfoot guy.
Yep.
Is there a female Sasquatch?
Obviously, they procreate.
I mean, well, do we know they procreate? I mean,
Jason, there's not a male Sasquatch. Mick, don't listen.
That you know of.
That's true.
Can you prove that it doesn't exist?
No, I certainly cannot.
Honestly, everybody has cell phones. I think even Bigfoot, if he was alive, he would have one. So I'm giving it like 2 more years to actually get good video on your cell phone. Other than that, I'm
so you think Bigfoot would have a cell
suspend
phone
my
too?
belief? Everybody's got him. I mean, I'm sure he's probably killed a hiker, eaten him, taken a cell phone. I guarantee you, if they're out there, something like that is
So
happening.
just playing Angry Birds.
You
though.
think Bigfoot?
Yeah. You think he calls?
So you think Bigfoot is then just taking selfies and posting them online somewhere?
You think you need
from that dead hiker?
Does he have a Twitter account?
Calling is like one of the lamest things you can do with the phone.
Yeah.
Who calls on a phone?
Bigfoot's got to be on Twitter. That one, at least, I think is.
You might as well send me a letter if you leave me a voicemail. Right? I'm going to check at the exact same amount of time, probably. It might be a few days before I get around to that.
I don't even listen to the ones I get. I tap on it because it's transcribed for you.
Yeah, I tap on to see the transcript, and then I just delete it.
I see
eventually.
It's like, well, okay, that person called. I know why. I'm not going to.
Yeah.
Some people currently sitting in this booth with you today may have looked at their phone this morning and went, oh, Pamela left a voicemail. I'll just call her and see what's up, and not actually listen to the voicemail. Sorry, Pamela.
Oh, last voicemail I got was from
or
Todd
anyone.
Lebo. Todd Lebo was the last voicemail I got.
Well, he's an old. That
I
makes
know,
sense.
but I haven't checked it though. I just called him back. I still haven't checked it. It still tells me I have a notification for a voicemail.
It could say, Jason, just calling to let you know that I found a big bag of money with your name on it. Just swing by whenever. And I would never know.
Did he leave his number really slowly and then repeat it for a second time?
You can call me back at 8.
What was her mistake? She didn't say the number twice.
Gotta say it.
She left a message. 9 times out of 10.
Good time to call back. How are we supposed to know?
9 times out of 10, a text message will do. It's great. No, this wasn't a text message conversation. So, but I didn't check the voicemail. I just called him right back, and we had a talk mainly about Josh.
Oh, good. That makes sense. Mm-hmm. Certainly, all flattering things, I'm sure.
Yeah, absolutely.
So no, I'm giving it 2 more years to find Bigfoot, and then I'm like, okay, they're not real.
Less likely that a Bigfoot is real than a Yeti or the Loch Ness Monster, I think, right? I mean, anything in water is definitely easier to hide.
Absolutely. We've seen 0.15% of the ocean.
Yeah.
But yeah, there's some crazy stuff down there.
Definitely crazy stuff in the ocean.
Text says Bigfoot is hatched. So.
Oh, okay. Beards pointed out during the break, by the way, that 65 with Adam Driver, not a joke. Adam Driver is an ancient alien battling dinosaurs in wild new 65 trailer. That's a Rolling Stone headline.
When did his career hit
get
rock
cool?
bottom?
That's a great point.
Got cool in Star Wars. It has now hit rock bottom, apparently.
He's shooting dinosaurs with lasers, it looks like.
That sounds
seems
pretty cool to me, Mick.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know what your standards are, but...
I mean, there were sharks in a tornado. That sounds pretty cool.
That's pretty cool.
Did you hear about the shark octopus?
I did.
Is it a shark puss?
Oh.
What is it?
The sharktopus.
It's a sharktopus.
That's what I said.
Yeah.
Great. Mod Pizza, fantastic spot.
No Sharktopus in the menu. Anything else, though?
Just great pizza here in Lenexa. Program next.
Join the program this Thursday and celebrate the new Traeger Hood showroom at